Hello, hello, hello. I believe I am currently live right now. Obviously, I'm a minute or so ahead of you guys. This is always that awkward part where I don't know if you can see me or not. So, can you guys confirm that you can see me? How's the video?
Hello.
How's the audio, etc.? Hook me up. Let me know things. So, I will basically awkwardly wait here until I get confirmation of that, and I will take a look at the comments, and then we will proceed from there. Assuming you can hear me and everything is fine. I see Scott the Canadian, my loyal, my loyal admin is in there. Fear him. He is just because he's Canadian. It doesn't mean he's friendly. He's brutal. He's like a maple sickle and hammer. You know, like he will crush you. So be good. Can see you. You can see me. Sound is okay. Can people confirm the sound? I see one person saying they can hear me. I haven't seen anyone else say it. Video and audio are great. Good. Okay. Excellent. So again, video is just going to be subpar. It's just an old webcam, 720p broadcast, which hopefully will be stable because I upgraded my internet recently. If you saw the Star Wars Rogue One conversation, you would know that. And the microphone is the good microphone, not like the one that's built into my camera that I shoot most of my videos on. If I could, believe me, I'd use this in those videos, but I can't do it. So really what matters here is just the audio, not, what's there to look at. It's just a fat guy who recently got a haircut and a beard trim, by the way. Tell me what you think of it. And all we're going to do, guys, I just kind of decided I wanted to do like a live Q&A. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. No special subjects on my mind, nothing like that. I just thought I would take some questions and answers and, we would just go from there. Seeing a lot of familiar faces. Obviously Scott's there. Julian, I saw you. Gilly the Kid, what's up? I recognize a lot of you. It's nice to see you guys here. First of all, I guess the first question I have, I want you guys to start giving me questions and, keep it like basic ones that I can so I can get as many questions in as possible. But, I guess the first question I would have for you guys is, do you like this? Do you like the idea of an occasional just live stream where I just talk to you guys directly? Or do you want me to, maybe this is just a random thing I shouldn't do very often. I'm not thinking about doing this like every week or anything, but maybe like once a month, you guys tell me, what do you think? So while you guys figure that out, the first question I will take, which is kind of a cheap cop-out question, is from Cryodilic Monkey. Says, Rogue One thoughts. Dude, I did an entire 1 hour and 40-minute live stream just like this talking about Rogue One. Go watch that for all the details. The short answer is I liked Rogue One a lot, but I wanted to talk a lot about it, so you can go check that out. Too Much Food, what's up, dude? I do podcasts with him every once in a while. Will I ever do a fan meetup? I do them a lot. Anytime I get to go to conventions and stuff like that, or events, I try to give people notice and say like, hey, I'm going to be here. If you want to meet up, you can meet up. So that happens. So I guess this is a good opportunity to talk about the next one that I know I'm going to, which is, I will be going to, Atlanta for the, High Res Studios, Smite convention, basically. The great irony is I don't even play Smite. I'm there to basically produce video content for it. But if you live in Atlanta and if you're going to that or you have any interest in being there, I will be there. Major, I know you watch me from time to time. I don't know if you're in the stream right now. If you want to hang out, hit me up, dude. Because we hung out. It's a guy I hung out with like 2 years ago. They're a really nice guy. Atlanta's fun, man. Like you go to the Coca-Cola factory and you get to go to there's this awesome restaurant I'm really excited to go back to. Yeah, it was really cool. So I'm taking a look at your comments. A lot of you guys are saying that you do like the idea of streaming, but maybe only once a month. Brad Knight, what up, dude? I wasn't expecting you to pop in here. Brad Knight, everybody, if you guys watched Chad Vader back in the day, or if you watch Beer and Board Games, a show that I'm on, Brad Knight, very integral to both of those productions. He's also helping us out a lot with Skyrim for Pimps on my other channel, Game Society Pimps. When will I be in Atlanta? I'm just there for the convention, which I believe is the 5th through the 8th. So you can, you can come up if you want to, and then we'll just kind of take it from there. Let's see what else. All right, obviously, tons of questions happening, which is great. I love all the enthusiasm. Obviously, I can't answer everything because things are just flying by. So if I skip your question, I apologize. Just keep asking, and hopefully, I see it. That's the best I can do. Do I have any complete console collections? I assume you're talking about like all the games for a console. Yes, I do. I have a complete Sega Dreamcast collection. That's the only one I've ever done like a full video on where you can see everything, because I don't really like collection videos. I kind of regret actually doing that one, to be honest with you. I have a full Jaguar CD collection, which isn't that hard. There's only like 13 games for it. I'm very close to the N-Gage. I'm also very close to the Wii U, because the Wii U isn't that difficult. There's not that many of it, and I've just been crushing it as it's been going. I think currently there's only a handful of North American titles I don't have. I think I have all the European titles, and there's only a handful of Japanese titles I don't have. So that one is the one I'm closest to next. And then OG Xbox, yes, it's a goal, but I'm still far away. There's still a lot to do with the OG Xbox. Do I own an SG-1000, says Baker Skills 21? No, I do not. I wish I did. If you guys don't know, the Sega SG-1000 was Sega's first home console. It was only released in Japan and New Zealand, oddly enough. Yes, I have something in my eye. I apologize. I don't know, hair or whatever. But yes, Scott, of course the video and the audio is out of sync. The camera sucks. It's a shitty old webcam, but it's the best I got. So yeah, I apologize for that. Hey, Raylid, it's Raymond, my buddy Raymond. If you guys watch my old videos, Raymond used to come up a lot because he used to send me packages of stuff and all this crazy like Dreamcast development kit stuff. Hell of a nice guy. He used to do like a lot of console mods and stuff for me. What's up, Raymond? It's good to see you. Have I ever thought of getting a Sony BVM monitor? I had that opportunity sort of at Too Many Games in June of this year, 2016. BVM monitors are basically broadcast monitors, and they make the games look insanely good, but they're very tiny little screens, and you have to connect them the right way and everything. And I don't know. I just never really bothered. They're beautiful, yes, but it's just a massive inconvenience to try and play on one. I'd rather just play on my actual television, and running things through like the FrameMeister and stuff, it all works out. Ronald, what up? My buddy Ronald's in there. He's another admin. Fear him. He's insane. Ronald's dangerous. Everybody help. No, Ronald's a good dude. But yeah, Ronald's another guy who's like really good at modding stuff, and he you guys saw at some point, maybe it was like a year, 2 years ago, something like that. He and I like did this thing. He sent me the Philips CDI. You guys remember that Philips CDI package? It was insane. And he like RGB modded one of them. And dude, you would never expect it out of the Philips CDI, but the video quality off of the Philips CDI, that is some pretty video. You just would never see it coming. But Ronald's a hell of a dude. If you're in Europe and you need a guy who mods stuff, it's the two guys I can always recommend to you are Raymond, who's in the UK, and Ronald, who's in Austria. Those dudes, they know what they're doing. Do I plan on going to the SoCal Retro Gaming Expo, says Nintendojo? I have not been invited. Any convention that I go to, I'm invited to. I don't really go out of my way to go to conventions otherwise, to be honest with you, because going to conventions is extremely expensive. So if they're willing to like cover the airfare and stuff like that, then I'll do it. But like, you don't make any money going to those things. At least I don't. And so you're basically taking days off of work. So on top of having to spend money to go, it's just like, I'm not, I'm not going to do that. But if they'll cover like costs of attendance, then I'll do it. So like that's why I'm going to Atlanta. Like they're paying for the airfare and stuff like that, so I can go there and make videos and have a good time. But if anybody's in Atlanta and you want to meet up, come to the convention. So many questions. Thank you guys. Do I like Kanye West? Not really. Like, I don't know shit about music. You guys need to know this about me. I am musically retarded. I can name maybe like 5 to 10 musicians or bands in the history of the planet. I know nothing about music. It's just never been a passion of mine. So Kanye West, I mean, I guess the dude's crazy, whatever. The most interesting thing about Kanye West to me is the fact that he went to the same college that I did, Columbia College Chicago. So that's always cool. Ooh, Dreamcastic channel. My buddy Jonathan's here. Congratulations, you are the latest admin. Welcome. Yeah, what's up, dude? Everybody fear Jonathan. He's insane. He's got rage issues. It's out of control. But yeah, everybody be careful. He's fairly dangerous. have I ever been to Kuma's, says Brandon Wenzel. Do you mean Kuma's Corner? Like it's a burger place in Chicago? If so, yes, I have been there. I took my girlfriend and my mother there a couple of years ago. The environment of that place is just loudness, but the burgers are, fantastic. The number one gamer, when is the next episode of Keep Dreaming? I have no current plans for one. It really these days kind of depends on a new game coming out or a new peripheral coming out, something like that. The history of that show is that I used to just take anything I had, controllers, whatever it was, and I would just make videos about them. But those were the early days, and people I don't think would really like me to do that anymore, because there are some peripherals and stuff that I've never made videos on. But I don't think the way the channel is now that people would really like to see me just, there with just my hands and, I'm talking, for 2 seconds, because those videos weren't very long, where I'm just talking for a couple of minutes about this not in-depth review of an item and just give a little basic history and move on. I just don't think people would really want to see that anymore. So I kind of stopped doing them. So the only reason I ever do them now is just when, there's some new exciting thing to talk about. Though, I will say this, on the subject of Keep Dreaming, there is one thing I want to tell you guys. There is a new game called In the Line of Fire that is currently having a Kickstarter. And it's an interesting Dreamcast Kickstarter because the game is a Dreamcast exclusive. First of all, it's not a Kickstarter that's like, oh, we'll also give you a Dreamcast version, if you reach that stretch goal or whatever. This one's like, hey, this is a Dreamcast game. And if they reach a certain tier, I believe it's 70,000. If they reach that, they will also give away the engine they're building the game on to other developers. Like, they'll just give it away. Actually, Dreamcastic channel in the, Jonathan in the comments could tell you a lot more about it. But the reason that's interesting is it's a 3D FPS. I mean, if you were like, oh, the Dreamcast only gets all these 2D games and stuff, here's a way to solve that. These guys are going to give away this engine if they reach that goal. So you could see a lot more 3D programmed games. Probably very crude, of course, compared to the games we saw in the conventional lifespan of the Dreamcast. But you might see like PS1 and 64 quality stuff possibly on the Dreamcast in the future if this project is successful. So I backed it this morning. If you're interested, literally just look up In the Line of Fire Dreamcast Kickstarter. You will find it, and you can make the Dreamcast more successful. We can have even more games coming out for this thing, which would be just awesome. I mean, who would think who would think in the year 2016 that we'd still be talking about it? Okay, Mr. Mario. Hey, I did a podcast with Mr. Mario as well. I don't know what happened with that. Did you ever send me the link with that? I don't even remember how that one turned out. But you guys can go check that out too. Yeah, Jonathan put the link to the Kickstarter in the comments there. You can go ahead and click on that. Mr. Mario asked my favorite console modification. So I'm kind of old school in this because I don't really mod stuff anymore. Like, I have no idea what kind of mods are really available for 7th gen hardware, except for the Wii. I know a lot about that one, but I would still say the OG Xbox. Like, when you truly modify that thing, it can become insane. Ronald in here, Ronald knows. Ronald and I have been working on this like ultimate OG Xbox project for a while. Well, I should really say he has. I just kind of said what I wanted, and he was like, I'll make it happen. So one day there's going to be a video. One day there's going to be this video of this ultimate Xbox that Ronald prepared, and it's to anybody who's into the idea of modding things or the retro community, you're going to think it's amazing. If you're like all next gen, PC, I have to upgrade my video card every week type of person, you're not going to give a fuck. But then again, I don't know why you'd be on this channel anyway. But yeah. See, there's Ronald. See, Ronald knows all about this project. But one day. My buddy Mike, Sega CD Universe. What's up, dude? I didn't know you were here. He says, well, my favorite Dreamcast indie title. By the way, Mike is your new admin. Again, he is fucking dangerous, so watch out. I'm still going to go with Sturmwind. Sturmwind, I think, is the highest quality indie title that has ever been produced for the Dreamcast. It's the only game on the independent scene, I think, that really you could believe came out during the original run of the Dreamcast. And the best thing about that is Sturmwind is getting a re-release, because Sturmwind was one of the hardest ones to get because of that reason, because everybody loved it so much, but it had a very low print run. So I'd highly recommend looking into the re-release, because that is definitely one worth your money. My buddy Chip, I don't know if he's in here. He and I did that podcast together. I know you were looking for that one, dude. And if you're in here, Stormwind, it's happening. It's coming. Guys, this is so awesome. There's over 200 of you watching, and there's so many questions. I'm sorry I can't keep up. If you are liking any part of this, can you please hit the like button? I hate asking you to do that. I really, really do. But you guys, I'm sure, have all heard about YouTube's crap lately, and that just really helps me out. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. So let's talk about more stuff. What else you guys got? When do I think the Dreamcast will get supported until? Dude, I have no idea. If you had asked me back when they first pulled the plug, I would have never thought even a couple of years. I remember the first indie game came out in 2003. It was Feet of Fury. And if you had told me right then I would be talking about new indie games coming out in 2016 and 2017, I would never have believed you. So I have no... Who the fuck knows? You know, flip a coin and I don't know. You know, who the hell knows when that's going to happen? Am I excited for Power Rangers Mega Battle for PS4 and Xbox One, says Brian Schwartz. I had not heard that was a thing. What is it? If it has anything to do with MMPR, like the original 93 series, yeah, fuck. Sure, why not? But I don't know anything about it, so I can't give an educated opinion of it. Maple Leaf Plays. Adam, what are your thoughts on Nintendo Switch? If you answer, it will make my day. I did a whole video. Actually, I've done, I think, 2 videos now on the Switch. I mean, I want to see it. I want to play it. I want to try it. I am cautiously optimistic. I think that's the best explanation I can give right now. There's aspects of it that, of course, concern me. You know, possibly being underpowered. You might be repeating history here with the Wii U, but it's not out yet. We don't know. We don't have the power to change anything that they do yet. So I don't know. I'll make a better assessment once I actually have it. Plus, again, I talked about this in a couple of dedicated videos, so you can check that out. Do I play Overwatch? No, I do not. You guys might or might not know about this, might not know this about me. I really don't play anything online. I don't care. I've never been interested in multiplayer, even locally. So online, like it takes a lot for me to play something online with somebody. I think the last game I played online with anyone for any great amount of time was Dead Rising 3 on the Xbox One. But that I loved, but you know, yeah. I was in Dublin the same week as you, says Bill Best Player. Yeah, Dublin, Ireland, man. If you guys didn't know, I went there back in July. That Dublin is probably my favorite European city. It's fucking great. I was only there for a week. I wish I'd stayed longer because that place is awesome. I did a couple of videos on it. I highly recommend checking it out if you have any interest in going to Ireland, or even if you think you'll never go. It's just cool, like to see. Like I went to some video game stores and stuff like that and just showed you guys things. So if you guys want to check it out, you can do that. And that actually goes for the same thing for the whole Smite Atlanta thing I was talking about. Last time I went, which was like 2 years ago, you could I did a video on that event as well, so you can check that out if you're interested. Do I like Resident Evil, says James Tobias. Yes, I do. But I played all of them up until Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 was when they first kind of changed the formula, and I know I'm in the minority here, but I didn't really like the change. And so I just kind of stopped playing it, and I never really proceeded past that. Maple Leaf says, I'm apparently rude. I don't know why, dude. I answered your question. Have I played any of the Ratchet and Clank games? No, I should. I really should. But these days it comes down to more like time. I work a lot, so I don't usually have time. This has been kind of weird for me because since I would say June of this year, every 2 weeks I've been on a plane going somewhere. I really haven't had time to do anything. And I got back from, what was it, San Francisco? No, Canada. I got back from Toronto like a week ago, and I haven't had this much time at home in quite a while. So it's been weird. So like that's part of the reason that I've actually been able to do this, because yeah. Do I like SpongeBob games? I don't think I've really played any. Sorry, Nath bro. Can I believe that Sonic 06 is almost 10 years old? It is 10 years old, dude. It's 2016. Sonic 06 was 10 years ago. Is it still worth buying a Wii U? Not at full price. Absolutely not. I would say absolutely wait until clearance. In fact, a lot of people were sending me articles saying that Nintendo is removing them from stores. And then I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I went and I checked Best Buy and I checked Target, and they all said like completely out of stock. And so apparently there is some legitimacy to that. They are withdrawing them. And I'm starting to think maybe what happened is that they're just demanding the shelf space for the Switch, but I don't know why they're pulling the plug so early. But, you know, what do I know? Or maybe they have some other intention of doing something with the leftover Wii U's. Maybe they're going to rebrand them with a new box and ship them back out. I don't know. We don't know. What are my thoughts on using the Wii as a GameCube? I actually did an entire video on that. If you want to do that, I mean, there's nothing against it, but just so people are clear, the component cables that are provided for the GameCube will give you a better quality GameCube image than the Wii will. Just because the Wii uses component and just because it supports GameCube doesn't mean it actually offers as good of a picture. There are side-by-sides. I even showed it in my video. If you don't believe me, you can go look up screenshots and stuff like that. The GameCube does a better job of doing that. Deanna the Legend 87. Holy shit, dude. Everybody, all right. Deanna the Legend 87, where the fuck have you been, man? Like, I used to watch this dude's videos all the time. Then he just silently went away. Make more videos, man. Make more videos. I'm begging you, make more videos. Everybody tell him to make more videos. Deanna the Legend 87, what up? Please make more videos. Why do I like the Wii U? Because it's a lot of fun. It really is. It's not the piece of shit that the Wii was. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but it's how I felt. That most of that console was shovelware. But the Wii U, it's ironic because not too many developers support it. Most of what you have is first-party Nintendo support. And most of the titles that Nintendo puts out, even on the Wii, were quality. The difference is that with the Wii, I felt like I couldn't play them because I was using a magic wand that made me feel like an idiot. Whereas with the Wii U, you either have a normal controller or you have the gamepad, which really wasn't that invasive. I enjoyed it. There are certainly fuck-ups, you know, but like for the most part, I really liked it. And you know, there are some worthwhile third-party things like Lego City game, you know, Lego City Undercover or whatever, stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think it's a fun system, and I think in years to come, it will be a more respected console than it currently is. Maurice Hill, can I show you my penis? No, dude, you couldn't handle it. Do I like the Bee Movie? Says Joe K2K. What, the Jerry Seinfeld movie? I only saw it once, and I thought it was like, you know, it was kind of a weird thing for Jerry Seinfeld to finally do. You know, like he hadn't done anything since the show really, other than like stand up. But yeah, it was weird for him to be like, this is the project. And I know why he did it. The agenda there was like, we're killing all the bees. If we kill all the bees, we kill the planet, which is a real thing. But I don't know. I would like to see Jerry Seinfeld in more stuff. I think that was just an odd thing to do. Aside from Shenmue, what is your favorite game ever? Oh, I think I did a top 10 back in my early days, and I don't think it's changed much. But I don't know. I might still say Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Genesis, possibly. In no particular order, a lot of my higher-ups are things like Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, Twisted Metal 2, Star Wars Force Unleashed was actually, I really loved. I know that wasn't everybody's favorite. My buddy Matt Sloan voices Darth Vader in that game. That's just a bonus. But yeah, so like I got, of course, a lot of favorite games, but I don't add too many. I really liked Far Cry 4, but again, I never played Far Cry 3, and a lot of people say Far Cry 3 is better, so I really should do that. But Sonic 2 rocks, says Dave's Game Room. You are correct. Do you think there will be a second Game Crash? Possibly. It's going to be interesting because, all right, so I don't play on PC, as a lot of you guys know, and I don't support digital content either. But one thing I found interesting, and a lot of people have been talking to me about it, a lot of like media events I've been going to, is that apparently 40% of all games added to Steam came in this year. And what that essentially means is that there's just a fuck ton of shovelware going up, and that's never good, man. When you have too much shovelware and too much shit and people don't know what to buy, they get kind of pissed. So be careful. But you know, I don't know. I'm a console gamer, and I'm not saying that Steam's going to like bring the industry down, nothing like that, but it's never good to have too much shit on the market. And when you can make it too easy for developers, there is a certain amount of quality control required. It's of course it's good to help indies, to let them make games and all that, but when you make it too easy to the point where anybody can make a game, that's literally what happened back in the early 80s. So be careful. What do I think of the Crash Bandicoot remasters, says Caleb Bravo. Caleb Bravo, I like you. You like everything I do on Twitter. I appreciate that. As for the actual question, it looks cool. I look forward to checking it out. I loved Crash Bandicoot 3 on the PS1. I never really liked 1 or 2 all that much, but 3 I fucking loved. So seeing like a full remake of that would actually be really, really cool. What do I think about DRM free downloads? That's nice. I still don't have any interest in supporting them. Do I own a BBC Micro? I'm not sure what that is. Do I own a Laserdisc player? Yes, I do. I have the Pioneer Laser Active that was, could play Sega Genesis games or TurboGrafx 16 games if you had like the right pack. It also supported Sega CD and TurboGrafx CD, again, if you had the right pack. And even had its own proprietary games. I did a video on it. That's the only Laserdisc player I own, and I only own it because it's kind of a console. Favorite Lego game? Ooh, that's a tough one. Oh, man. I like a lot of those Lego games. I guess I might just go with Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, only because it's Star Wars. Because all those games kind of play the same, and I really enjoy them all pretty much the same. So the thing I guess it pushes it over is it just happens to be Star Wars. Am I a big collector of the OG Xbox? Yes, I would like to get a full set of OG Xbox. I'm coming to the realization that I need to do that. Ironically, with the OG Xbox, the only part of it that I have that's completed is the Japanese stuff. Well, save for one. Save for one Japanese title, I have all of the Japanese stuff, plus the one game that came out in Singapore, as odd as that is, and the one game that came out in South Korea. I have both of those. Although the one that came out in Singapore also came out in Taiwan, oddly enough, but I have them both. Julian, what's up? Not Matt says hello. Buddy Mike, how you doing? Say hi to Mike's girlfriend. She's cool. Sarah, what's up? Oh yeah, see, Scott knows him. Am I disappointed that Shenmue 3 Slacker Backer didn't raise as much money as people would have liked? All right, so the Shenmue Slacker Backer, if you guys aren't aware, is for Shenmue 3. Shenmue 3's ideal budget was around $10 million. They ended up reaching about a little like 6.5. They're a little over 6.5 currently, and you can still support it. I obviously would like Yu Suzuki to have the amount of money that he felt was necessary to make the game what he wants it to be. So in that sense, yes, I'm disappointed. But at the same time, we're essentially less than a year away from Shenmue 3 in some form. So I'm excited. There are things that will have to probably be sacrificed as a result of that for budget reasons. It's just what it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what I would want to say I needs to be cut, because I don't know what he wants to do. So I just kind of sit back and hope and trust in you. Get it? That should be a slogan. Probably is. I'm sure the Shenmue fan base has used that before. Ronald, yes, the Japanese one I'm talking about is the video game chat for OG Xbox, and you know, because it's in your possession. Everybody, Ronald has my last game. Help him send it to me. Hi, Amy. Mighty Number 9 on Wii U. I have not played it. I wanted to, but then everyone said it was just like shit, and so I never really got around to it. And the version I had for the longest time was the Wii U version, and everybody said the Wii U version was completely broken, and that it eventually improved with patches and stuff, but I just never got around to it, because in the end, everyone said, even the most diehard of Mega Man fans were like, eh. And I was like, well, I don't want to start there. So it's kind of on my list, but you have to understand, my list of things I need to play will take me into, if I live to be 100, it'll take me there. So it's kind of like, I'm not in any rush, whatever. Do you like PC games? What's your opinion? I don't play games on PC. How much money did you save on Black Friday? I never calculated it. Just didn't. Let's see what else we got going on here. Do you fear the Switch will be scalped, and thoughts on the Mattel Hyperscan? Of course the Switch will be scalped. I have no thoughts on the Mattel Hyperscan other than it's not a console. I've had the opportunity to buy one a couple of times, and then I was like, well, why? That would just be literally buying something to collect dust. There is no other reason to have that. So no, I didn't bother with that. Did you know that Yooka-Laylee has been canceled in favor of a Switch version? No. Is that actually true? Can anyone confirm that? Any thoughts on the new Daytona USA? I heard about that, although I don't have much information on it. Sega surprisingly is making a new Daytona USA, and a lot of people are actually really excited about it. So I don't know much about it, but that's definitely cool. And Deanno the Legend, there you are again. Come on, man. Make a video right now. Make a video in response to this. Your question is, what happened to getting a full Sega Saturn collection? That just seemed to stop. Make a video getting mad at me and telling me I need to get the full fucking Sega Saturn collection. No, the real answer to that question, dude, is that I never see them. When do you see Saturn stuff? I mean, I know you're in the UK, so our situation's a little different, but ironically, I have almost a complete PAL exclusive collection for the Saturn. I'm only missing one. North American stuff, I have a bunch of it, but the problem is, at this point, I would have no choice but to just go to eBay for everything to complete it, and it's just an expensive endeavor, and I don't, it's not really that fun if you don't find them locally, So I'll probably get back to it at some point, but it's whatever. All right. Jackson says Yooka-Laylee is getting a physical release and the Wii U version has been canceled. Okay, everybody. Now a lot of people are saying the Wii U version of Yooka-Laylee has been canceled. That doesn't surprise me. I didn't back Yooka-Laylee, so I don't. Because when that was happening, it wasn't. They weren't offering physical editions. They were offering just digital downloads. And as expressed before, I don't support that. So if there's a physical Switch edition, I'd probably support that. It does make me curious, though, what will happen with Bloodstained. You guys remember Bloodstained? It was like the spiritual successor to Castlevania. And I'm curious how that will play out, because that was supposed to have a physical Wii U edition coming in like 2018. So that'll be interesting, because that's the version I backed. So that could end up being like the rarest Wii U game someday, or it'll just be canceled in favor of a Switch version. I don't know, but that'll probably they'll probably be forced to give everybody like a choice where they can pick a different version. And if I will say it right now, if they don't let me have a Wii U version of that, I'll probably be kind of pissed off, because like then I'm not as excited about backing it. I backed it largely for the Wii U version, so I don't really care about an Xbox One or PS4 version, I mean, I don't deny they would probably perform better, but like, I just did it more to support the Wii U and to support the developer for supporting the Wii U more than I did just to have a game. Ever listen to Vaporwave? No, I don't know what that is. If you're going to ask me music questions, dude, I'm just not going to be able to answer it. I told you, I'm musically retarded. I know nothing about music. Scott the Canadian can totally back me up on that. Do I own the DuckTales remake? Yes. I have it on the Xbox 360, and I think I have it on the Wii U. I'm not totally sure about that. It was a Wii U exclusive in other way around. In North America, it got a physical Wii U edition, whereas I guess that it didn't in Europe or Japan. So if you're a Wii U collector, there you go. I really wish they would do region unlocks for the Wii U, because I hate region coding. It's really annoying with a console that you're collecting for, because like a good chunk of the library you just can't use. Do I think Switch is Gen 8 or Gen 9? 8. I don't think there's any Gen 9 consoles. Not yet, if there ever will be. I mean, you can't even argue timing with that one. I mean, or technology, because technologically we now believe it will be less advanced than the initial version of the Xbox One, not the Xbox One S, and certainly not the Scorpio. The initial launch model, the day one edition of the Xbox One, we now believe the Switch will be less advanced than, so you can't go on the technology thing. So then when you talk about just timing, not really. I mean, the PS4 Pro just launched, and we wouldn't call that 9th gen. It's only a couple months later, and we get the Switch. I think we're just repeating history here with two consoles in the same generation from Nintendo. SNK was the last company to do that with the Neo Geo AES and the Neo Geo CD. Atari did it with the 2600 and the 5200. Hint, hint, you'll see a 5200 video soon. Assuming you're watching my second gen recap video series, which thank you guys for doing, by the way. Do I own a 4K TV? No, I do not. I did look into getting one possibly around Black Friday, but I was perturbed by the fact that they only support HDMI. And while I have most of my stuff running through HDMI, there's still some things in there that I don't have running on it yet. And so I'm just not ready to do that. Plus, it's an expensive endeavor for something that I really wouldn't get much use out of since I have nothing that even outputs 4K anyway. Bloodstained is still getting a Wii U version, just coming out super late. Also, thoughts on Star Wars Expanded Universe reboot, better or worse, EA or LucasArts? For now, the Bloodstained is getting a Wii U version. We don't know what happens eventually. Thoughts on Star Wars Expanded Universe reboot? Excuse me. I was about to sneeze. Hang on. No, it's one of those sneezes that's just like stuck. Fuck. All right. Star Wars Expanded Universe reboot. You mean like when they wiped out all the continuity? I was fine with that. I actually talked about that in my Rogue One video. And as for EA or LucasArts, EA has made 2 Star Wars games. One was like a shitty mobile game, and the other was Battlefront. And even though my buddy voiced Vader in that game, I still had no interest in it. Battlefront was the second game on my wish list after Shenmue 3. I wanted a Star Wars Battlefront 3. I wanted it to be done correctly. And then when they gave it to EA, I was like, no, they're going to fuck it up. They're going to fuck it up. And they fucked it up. It's like an online only game. I just don't care. I just don't care about it. I'll give EA a chance, if they end up making some other game, maybe Battlefront 2, but it's got an actual competent first player mode and multiple first player modes, then I would be interested. But currently, no. Thoughts on Sonic Boom? I didn't play it much. I think it's kind of fun. I think it's terrible that Sega put that out so incomplete. It was patched and made a lot better. It's got a huge patch on the Wii U. It's like over a gigabyte. I think it's the biggest patch that exists on the Wii U. It fixes a lot of the issues, but certainly not all of them. When is the full seasons of Skyrim for Pimps Season 6 coming out? We have to finish the show first. If you watch my other channel, Game Society Pimps, one of the ongoing shows we have is Skyrim for Pimps, which is a show I'm very proud of. It's like Lost with Skyrim characters. I love that show. I'm very proud to be making it. But it's an extremely difficult show to produce. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. Very hard. So currently we're on the 6th season. We're getting near the end, but each episode takes like 2 or 3 months to produce at this point. So saying when we'll just compile them all together, I have no idea. It could be in the summer for all I know, if even that soon. What we might do is split them up into part 1 and part 2 or something. What do I think will happen to Nintendo if the Switch fails? Strike 3, you're out? They could be testing third-party waters with their small involvement in Pokemon Go, obviously Super Mario Run, stuff like that. I think they're kind of testing their options because I'm not sure they even know what will happen. I just wish they had handled the Switch a little better from the onset. Like, it would have been nice if they just came out with something that would obviously be more competitive than it's going to be. I'm tired of Nintendo going off and sitting in a corner like they always do. But it is what it is. And I wish them well. I want it to succeed. I don't want Nintendo going anywhere. But it wouldn't surprise me if they have a bunch of money. So a bunch of people are like, no, they have money to last forever. It's like, dude, eventually companies can fail. There's a lot of... At one time, Blockbuster was untouchable. If you fuck up too many times, you're out. So be careful. They made a bunch of money on the Wii, but they hurt their brand unbelievably when they made the Wii. And then the Wii U has not helped their case. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Switch. If the Switch is successful, great. If it's a flop, not good. Am I a sports fan? A little bit. I got Derrick Rose Bulls jersey. I'm in Chicago, and so I'm proud of our teams when they succeed. I used to watch basketball a lot, the Chicago Bulls specifically, but not so much anymore. I was very happy when the Cubs won. I watched Game 7 of that in San Francisco after a Ubisoft event, which was a lot of fun. That was an insane night. And I will probably watch when... I'd probably watch if the Blackhawks get to the Stanley Cup again this year. That's because we have this new tradition in this decade of just winning every 2 years. Sorry to all the Canadians, especially Scott the Canadian, who's jealous. Deanno the Legend, are you on Skype, Adam? I'd like to chat this up in some way or another. You talking about you making videos? Yeah. Let's hit me up. We'll talk about this. Send me a message on the private message on YouTube. We'll go from there. Have I ever played Ace Attorney? No, I have not. What do I think about VR? I used it a little bit to play a game called The Werewolf Within. I think it's something like that that Ubisoft made. And I like it conceptually. Like, it's cool. It's actually fun. And I've played it at conventions like PAX and stuff like that. But I can't get over just like how dorky it is. Like, it's too cumbersome, and it's not something I think that's going to explode for a long time. I think it's just going to be kind of exciting up front, and then when people really get down to like the nitty gritty of like how complicated it is to actually use it and how isolating it can be, I don't see it taking off. I think it has many practical applications in the world, but gaming, I'm not sure, is really going to be one of them. It might be a cooler version of the Kinect in a few years. That's kind of where I think it's going. What do you think about top scratches on disc-based games? You mean like when the artwork is scratched and it damages the data? That's depressing because you can't fix it. Do I own any arcade boards or cabinets, says Julian? No, I do not. Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat? I'm going Mortal Kombat. Actually, you guys may not know this. There's the guy who played Sub-Zero and played Scorpion in the OG games, like the guy who did the body modeling, is a guy named John Turk. He's actually a friend of mine. He was in a movie I made called Henchman. I never put that movie on YouTube. However, the trailer for it is on this channel. You can see a shot of him in it. So yeah, I know Sub-Zero. Have I ever played Metal Slug? Yes, I have. Not to completion, but those games are pretty cool. In the future, will the Wii U be the same as the Dreamcast now? If you mean like, will it be highly collectible and sought after? I would say yes. There is a difference though. The Wii U does require patches in a lot of cases, or not necessarily require patches, but they definitely can be beneficial. Whereas the Dreamcast obviously didn't have that problem. So hopefully Nintendo keeps those servers up for a while, but knowing Nintendo, they probably won't. So, but one thing that's kind of cool about the Wii U is it's the last console to be able to read its games directly off of the media, as opposed to being required to install. Granted, we don't know how the Switch is going to work yet. Maybe that won't need it either. But at least with disc-based consoles, the Wii U is the last one that just keeps reading off of the disc. What are my thoughts on Death Stranding and Hideo Kojima? Fuck Konami. Fuck them for what they did to him. And I hope that he has a great time working with Sony and all that and makes some high quality games for all of us. It was Konami's loss for acting like complete idiots. I'd love to know what was going on in Konami's mind. Collective mind, obviously. But we don't know. Did I ever play Sub-Zero Mythologies on PS1? No, I did not. Where can I get an arcade machine online for cheap? I have no idea. I don't buy them. What made you change your mind on the GameCube? I just didn't give it much of a chance when I was younger, and then as I got older, I simply played more of it, and I was like, oh, this thing's actually pretty cool. Which I get a lot of shit for. Like, I did a video about the GameCube where I talked about that, where I basically just told that story, but in greater detail, and people were like, you fucking hate the GameCube, I hate you. I was like, no, I didn't care about it, and now I like it a lot. It's whatever. If I ever wrote a book, what would be the subject? I have no idea. I don't know. I never really thought about it. The only thing that I was ever told I really should make a book about, and this is going to sound ironic looking at me now, is on how to lose weight. Yes, I'm being serious. When in 2009 or 2008, like a year before I started YouTube, I weighed about 100 pounds more than I do now. And I spent like the whole year just coming up with a diet plan and just doing it. And so I was told I should just write a book on like how to diet, and I'm like, no. But that's like the only thing that was ever really seriously proposed, even though I would never actually write it. Where can I get a Dreamcast arcade stick for cheap? In the past. You can't get Dreamcast stuff is not cheap anymore, dude. If you get a time machine, you could probably pull that one off. Will the Switch become highly collectible in the next 10 to 20 years? I have no idea, dude. No one knows that. Have I played Magical Knight Ray Earth on Japanese Saturn? No. There's a North American version of that game, right? You don't have to play the Japanese version. I know the North American version's expensive, but at least it's in English. Have I played Minecraft? No. We did a little bit of Minecraft stuff for my other channel, some comedy videos on it, stuff like that. But I've never personally sat down and just dedicated time to it because I think it's a game I would either hate or I would get sucked into completely, and I don't have the time, man. Which PS1 game do you prefer, Twisted Metal 2 or Metal Gear Solid? Ooh, that's a good question. I think younger me would have definitely said Twisted Metal 2. I think modern me would probably say Metal Gear Solid. Playing Metal Gear Solid back on the Dreamcast with Bleemcast, not the beta, but like the full retail one, that's an experience. Granted, you can essentially get a better experience on the GameCube, but it's a little different. Do you think Sony will be here in 10 years? I hope so. Contrary to popular belief, even though everyone tells me I hate them, even though I tell you to your face I don't, I'm told I hate them. Apparently, I think they're the worst thing ever. I didn't know that. I didn't know I thought that. But they are not in a good financial position. And when you even say that out loud, there will be a horde of usually children that get really angry with you for saying that because they think you're saying, no, fuck Sony, I like Xbox, which is a terrible and stupid thing to even think. But Sony as a corporation is not doing well. If it weren't for the success of the PS4, they might already be out of business, which is why they're doing everything they can to push the PlayStation 4 because it's what's holding them up because all their other divisions are not doing well. I mean, even this year, their film division did terribly. Ghostbusters cost them a ton of money. And like their phone division sucks. They sold off their PC division. I don't think their TVs or anything is doing too well. And whenever I say this, people just come back and say, yeah, but look at all these things about PlayStation that are doing well. I'm like, Sony is more than just PlayStation. It's a big conglomerate. It's not the only thing that is required to make money for that company. That all the money that comes in from the PlayStation division is used to offset damage in all the other places, which is why when I say they only have like a year to maintain that kind of dominance over before the Scorpio gets out, I mean it. They might win the generation, fine, but they might lose the war because they may not make enough money to stay alive as a corporation. Microsoft doesn't have that problem. Even Nintendo doesn't have that problem, but Sony does. But that's an economics debate that it seems like a lot of people just can't wrap their head around. Why is the Dreamcast my favorite console? I actually literally did an entire video on that. Watch my 6th gen video about the Dreamcast. I just think it just hit me at the right time. It was a high quality console with a lot of great titles. I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. But you can go into that video, watch it for details. What's my favorite PlayStation? Probably PS1. Probably PS1. That's the one I have the most solid memories on. Do I ever think I'll play Bayonetta 1 and 2? Eventually. I have them both for the Wii U. I obviously have Bayonetta 1 for the Xbox 360. I actually got, in Europe, they got separate releases of Bayonetta 1 and 2 for the Wii U as opposed to where we got like a bundled thing. So I got the physical separate edition of Bayonetta 1 and then put my North American Bayonetta 1 disc in it so that I could have like a nice, have them both on the shelf and just, I like it. I will play them eventually in greater detail. I've only done it in small chunks. Do you think Microsoft were wrong for stabbing the Dreamcast in the back? That's not exactly what happened. Basically, Microsoft and Sega worked closely together on the Dreamcast. Granted, Microsoft, it seems like, kind of sort of betrayed them by learning a lot from them and then turning around and making their own console. But the reality is that was going to happen anyway. Like, Sega was going to bow out regardless. The Xbox did not kill the Dreamcast. The GameCube did not kill the Dreamcast. And contrary to popular belief of children, the PlayStation 2 did not kill the Dreamcast. Sega killed the Dreamcast with their own history of releasing peripherals that people didn't want, releasing too many consoles that they didn't support for long enough. Sega did that themselves. Even though they did everything they could correct with the Dreamcast, it just wasn't enough to get over that. That's the concern for Nintendo. The difference, though, is that Nintendo has a lot of money sitting in the bank to keep funneling that, where Sega ran out of cash too quickly. So be careful, Nintendo. And where are we? Do I have a wide boy for the N64? I'm not sure what that is. More Disneyland Adventures on my other channel. Yes, it will return. I will torture Aaron. If you're not aware, on my other channel, we do a whole series about that. And as Mickey Mouse and Stitch and things, I just absolutely I give him nightmares, man. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, Stitch. Stitch is very rapey.
I play those characters, but they're not exactly their Disney counterparts. Do you still Dreamcast till this day? I'm not sure what that means. I assume you do. Do you mean do I play it? If so, yes. Chicago is one of those places that if you don't know your way around, you can get hurt. Such a stupid comment. I'm sorry, that's just dumb. Like that's true of anywhere. Like, the contrary to popular belief, Chicago is not like this war zone. That's what everyone outside of the city thinks because of how the media perpetuates it. I've lived here my whole life. I've never had any problems. It's a very nice city. And if you actually visit it, you don't run into any of that shit. I wouldn't recommend going to the south side of the city, but I also wouldn't recommend going to like any bad part of any city. The difference there is, yeah, there's some gang violence, but it never really leaves that area. Whatever. What's my favorite licensed game? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like, doesn't that just mean my favorite game? If you mean like some sort of movie license, I'm still going to go with GoldenEye and 64. Can I do an episode on the Commodore 64? No, I don't own one, and I'm not into PCs. And that is really like a PC, basically. Do I collect a lot of handheld games? Not particularly. Where is the coffee? I have bottles of water. I'm all set up for that. I have 2 of them, actually. And I even have a water bottle filled with coconut milk. I know that's kind of, I've said it in the Star Wars Rogue One stream, I know it's kind of a weird thing to drink, but I like coconut milk. What do you want? Also, yes, obviously very professional to be drinking on during the recording. What do I think of Sonic Mania? I haven't heard much about it. That's the new one, right? I was kind of pissed when they announced that badass collector's set, right? And it had that statue of him like on a Genesis and stuff. I was totally on board for that. And then like, oh, by the way, the game isn't physical. Here's a little code and it comes within a card. And I was like, fuck you. I'm not supporting that. And I removed my pre-order because I was like, the hell with that. I'm not supporting digital. DeLorean or Aston Martin? I don't understand the question. Or maybe DeLorean. I don't know what that is, but I want a DeLorean. I like DeLoreans. When I was a kid, that was like my dream car. It still kind of is a little bit. Although I would never really drive it because it's obviously not a very good car. Have I tried the HDMI N64 mod? Not personally. Scott, if you're still there, I believe you knew someone with one of those, right? Didn't you try it out? Correct me if I'm wrong. You'll comment. And I guess there's a question for you. Why am I not in Scott's profile picture? I am. Initially, that picture is a shot used as a still for one of my live streams that I did up in Canada with both Scott and Shane, aka Rerez. And so the way we did it, Shane was in the middle, Scott was on one side, I was on the other. And when he wanted to make a profile, he wanted to use it for his profile. So, just to make the dimensions fit, he cut me out, which is fine. Until, of course, he won the fucking Xbox One S on Philip DeFranco's show. And so you just see this picture of Scott, like, doing his, like, Zoolander face. And then Shane sitting there back there, like, and I'm fucking cut out of the picture, you bastard, Scott. It's okay. It's okay. Best 3DO game? I don't know. I didn't... Maybe Gex? That was one of the few games I believe that was actually made for that particular console. I know a lot of people say like Lucian's Quest, but I'm not really an RPG guy, so I don't know. Luis, yes, it's true. I'm live. Yeah, that's right. You better still be here, Scott, jerk. Favorite Shenmue minigame? Do you mean like darts? Stuff like that? Like the forklift racing? Or do you mean like the games they put inside of it? Like, Hang On and stuff like that? Favorite OG Xbox game? If Shenmue 2 doesn't count, and I prefer the Dreamcast version, so I'd like to say it doesn't count, I would go with Star Wars Battlefront 2. Do you like Virtua Fighter 3 on Dreamcast? Not particularly. I actually don't really like any of the Virtua Fighter games, to be totally honest with you. I was always more of a Dead or Alive person. I love the Dead or Alive games. Like, doesn't matter. Pop in the Saturn one, the Dreamcast one. Anyway, I don't care. Play it. That shit's great. I have no interest in getting a Dream Pie for the Dreamcast. I don't care. I don't care about replicated hardware like that. How do I get the Bleemcast to work? So Bleemcast, okay, I don't know exactly what your question is entirely, but so Bleemcast was an emulator developed by Bleem, a company run by Rand Linden, that allows you to basically play PS1 games on the Dreamcast. Short version of this, because of technical limitations, they only did 3 official ones: one that supports Tekken 3, one that supports Gran Turismo 2, and one that supports Metal Gear Solid. Basically, all you do is you put the disc in, the Dreamcast Bleemcast disc, and then at the right time, you pop it out and you put in the PlayStation disc, you close it, you hit start, and it just plays the game. There was a beta leak of a different build that came out that will attempt to play any PS1 game, but it fails in most cases. And the games that it runs the best, it still doesn't support things like saving or FMVs, and there's obviously a lot of visual glitches. It was never meant to be released, but it's the same process. You just put the disc in, and then when it turns on, the screen will like flash like a ton of times, and then you eject and you put in your PlayStation disc, you close it, and you try. There's a couple of methods you can do to make it run better. Once you get in there, skip any FMVs you can, because that can force it to stall. You should try to use a PlayStation controller with like a PlayStation to Dreamcast adapter, and if the game allows for custom configuration, you can make it a little bit better that way. When you press the DualShock button, it will enable either R1 and R2 or R1 and L1, and you can press DualShock again and it'll enable R2 and L2, so you have a couple extra buttons. Also disable stereo sound on any game you're playing, switch it to mono. It just runs a little bit better. But even so, I mean, you don't really need that in the modern day. Like, the games will look great on a Dreamcast, yes, but even I, who don't play on PCs, I'll tell you, playing it on a PC with emulators is going to be better. And if you really want to play the actual discs, PS3 would do it better. I'm Kobe or MJ, dude. Are you fucking serious? I have a Bulls jersey behind me. I'm from Chicago. Who the hell do you think I'm gonna support? Michael Jordan. We built a fucking statue to the guy. No, I did not have a kid with my girlfriend. Have you played Hotel Mario? Yes, I have. I have a CDI, and once again, thank you to Ronald if you're still there. Yeah, Hotel Mario is certainly not a very good game, but it might actually be one of the better ones, because at least you kind of do something. The CDI has a very poor library, but as I said in my CDI video, it wasn't really meant to be a game console. People always forget that. Yes, thank you. I'm glad to see you in here. I have nice audio for once. The mic is nice. The camera sucks, but this is a live stream, so you can do whatever you want. What is the best Pong system in your opinion? I don't know enough about them to know which is the difference. The only ones that would be interesting to me are the ones made by certain companies. Like, Magnavox Odyssey is probably actually the best one, because it has the most variety of what it can do. But things like the Nintendo made one that my buddy Shane Rerez had for a while. I believe he did a video on it. That's cool because Nintendo made it. Atari made one. Atari might have made more than one, but I have one made by Atari, so that's cool just because they made it. But like beyond that, Ronald says, yeah, Hotel Mario. How are the Zeldas doing? Well, they're sitting over there. I tried to play those a little bit, actually, around the time I was making the Framemeister video, because I wanted to get some CDI footage, and they don't play too well. But, they exist. I would have to really want to play those to get that far in them. CDI or Wii? I find the CDI much more interesting. It does not have a better game library, but it's more interesting. The Wii is not interesting. The Wii is certainly a better piece of hardware. It has better quality games, but it's unplayable with its fucking Wiimote bullshit. And I give the CDI kind of a pass because it wasn't trying to be a game console. It was trying to be a media device. Remy, what up, dude? That's good to see you, man. Remy, you guys might remember him if you watched the old the podcast. He was on like 4 or 5 episodes of the podcast. Remy is your newest admin. He's from France. They're cruel. Watch out. He's dangerous. Favorite light gun game? Back in the day, I would have told you Duck Hunt, but maybe now it'd be something like House of the Dead 2. It's of course light gun games are brutal because you can't play most of them back in the day, or from back in the day, because they don't run on modern television, so that's kind of shitty. So I don't really play them anymore. Is Ronald the guy that sent me the CDI? Yes, James, he is. EverDrive for the Sega Saturn. That's not a thing. That would be cool if it happens. I've been talking about how cool that would be. It's possible, but you know, who knows? Who makes the thumbnails for your Q&As with Shane and Scott? Well, it's obvious that it's not me. It's Shane. Shane makes those because he can actually do things like Photoshop. I have, as you probably noticed, I have piss poor skills in that department. What is the worst game in my collection? Dude, I have no idea. You have no idea what you're asking. Like, there's way too many games in this collection. So I have no idea. Can I use a Japanese controller on a North American Dreamcast? Yes, you can. Dreamcast hardware is all region free. The only quasi exception is the official Dreamcast light gun released in Europe and in Japan will not work with North American versions of light gun games. It works on the console, just not with the games. They intentionally go out of their way to lock it out. It was kind of a response to the whole Columbine shooting. So if you want to use the like official European light gun with, say, House of the Dead 2, you also have to have the European version of House of the Dead 2, but it'll work on a North American Dreamcast. Do I collect old gaming magazines? Not exactly. I have a complete Dreamcast official magazine collection, and that's it. There was a time there where I considered getting like all the OG Xbox ones, but you can only collect so much shit before you're like, what the fuck am I doing? What is the rarest game I own? I don't know, dude. I really don't know. I would have to think a lot about that because I don't know. You throw out some, list some rare games. I'll tell you if I have them or not, or if I remember if I have them or not. Should you buy an NES Classic Edition? That's entirely up to you. I know I wouldn't. I don't give a fuck about clone consoles. I don't care that Nintendo's the one who made it. I would never sport that thing. How did I discover the method to fix the yellowing of old consoles? I just Googled it, dude. Found a lot of people who had made like their own recipes and figured that out. And I basically just transcribed that into a video. I was like, all right, well, here's what I did it and it works. So I'll make a video on it. It's not like I don't claim for a second I figured it out. It's science. Like, no, I read about it and I just made a video talking about it. Do I own a Super Scope 6? No, but I have a Menacer. It's another useless peripheral that I'll never use. Most disappointing game I ever played, Twisted Metal 3. That game ripped my heart out as a kid because I loved Twisted Metal 2 with like every fiber of my gaming being. I thought that was a phenomenal game. And that was made by Single Track, I think was the development studio that made that. And then I believe it was Sony themselves who handed it over to a company you guys may not remember, depends on your age, a company called 989 Studios. They originally made like Siphon Filter, which was kind of okay, but then they made a lot of sports titles and stuff. They ripped the heart out of that franchise. 989 Studios was so bad. There was like a year there where Official PlayStation Magazine had a whole section dedicated to the 989 glitch of the month, and they would show like screen caps of what happened in a 989 game that made them laugh their ass off because of how awful it was. The one that brings a memory is that they were showing some sports game that 989 did, and it was like a basketball game. And they would have players, like one side's on offense, one side's on defense. And then one of the defending players just fell on his back and slid all the way to the other side of the screen. And they were like, 989. And then eventually, to Sony's credit, they shut 989 Studios down because they were just an incompetent development team. Have I ever played Super Magnetic Neo? Not really. Is Rare dead? No. They're working on, what's the Sea of Thieves, guys? You can confirm that for me? I'm pretty sure that's them. Have I beaten Sonic 06? Fuck no. Was LJN a terrible game developer? They weren't a game developer. Contrary to popular belief, they were a publisher. But they would license out a lot of games, but they would make them very quickly. They would, basically be like, all right, yeah, we need a Back to the Future game. You just make a game quickly, we'll put a label on it, we'll put it out there. That was their job. They weren't in charge of actually making the games. Do you think development on the Pluto and Panther are to blame for the Saturn Jaguar success? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Pluto and Panther weren't released, so can you reiterate exactly what you mean there? Favorite GTA game? Probably still GTA 3, to be honest with you. I thought that Vice City overdid it. I still liked it. it was clear that Vice City, they're like, okay, we got this big budget now because now we know what people want, so we'll do all this crazy stuff, which was fine. And then San Andreas, I was just like, oh, I was bored to tears with that one. And then I never really cared that much about 4 or 5, to be honest with you. I know it's not a popular opinion, but it's mine. I just find the most charm in GTA 3. Obviously, I didn't have much love for GTA 1 or 2 or London or any of those. What is best, Border Down or Ikaruga? Ooh, good question. I'd go with Ikaruga. I'd still say Ikaruga is probably the greatest shmup ever made, in my opinion. And I'm sure people who are more into shmups would have maybe varying opinions, but there you go. Has there been any good Sonic game after Sonic and Knuckles? Well, it's all open to your opinion. I loved Sonic Adventure 1. Sonic Adventure 2 I liked a lot, but there were parts of it I hated. Like anything with Rouge or Knuckles, it was like, oh, just fucking skip this shit. Like, the first time I ever played it, I hated those aspects of it. And then I would, I had the save. So anytime I want to replay that game, I go to the story select mode and I just literally skip over those parts because I find that shit unplayable. I actually liked Sonic Lost World for the Wii U. I liked it a lot. It clearly wasn't quite ready to go. It needed maybe another patch or so before it was done. But yeah, I liked that one. Do I ever watch Nostalgia Critic? Yes, I do. I've met him. I've met Doug at, I believe it was Too Many Games. Not for very long. There was like a YouTuber guest party afterwards on one of the days, and so he was there. I was there, hung out with a few people, including James Rolfe. He was there. Got a photo with him. They're super friendly. Although to be fair, Doug, sorry, I don't know why I call him Greg. Maybe that's why. Doug, the Nostalgia Critic, he kind of ghosted me a little bit. I was like, I just saw him walking. I was like, hey, Doug, what's up? I love your channel. He's like, hey, and I was like, yeah, I'm from Chicago too. He just didn't say anything. He just kept walking. I was like, okay, whatever. I don't hold it against him. I'm sure he gets that all the time, and I don't blame him for just wanting to get to the fucking party and go drink. My mad D Rose is on the Knicks. No, I mean, I was sad to see him go, but it was going to happen. He wasn't going to re-sign next season, or who knows? The guy, unfortunately, I love Derrick Rose. I love him for the greatness he brought to Chicago Bulls basketball, but he just couldn't stay healthy. And it's not his fault. His body just kind of broke down on him. Which is unfortunate. And yes, I know the jersey's super wrinkled. It's fallen in the frame over time. But it's actually signed by Derrick Rose. I met him at a Milwaukee Bucks game. Drove up for a game, and I got like courtside seats, which are really cheap at a Milwaukee Bucks game. And you can hang out near where the players come in and out. And I just hung out there with the jersey and a Sharpie, and he walked past, and a lot of people do that. And he just signed a whole row of people's stuff, and I happened to be one of them. So I got his signature on the jersey. It was awesome. And that same game, he won the game with a buzzer beater. It was fantastic. And the best part about that is one of the angles they filmed his buzzer beater shot. They zoom in on him after he, makes the shot, and you can actually see me in the background being like, yeah! Although you might not recognize me because I didn't have the beard at the time. GameCube or Wii U? Ooh, tough question. GameCube probably has a better library only because it lasted longer. But I don't know. I might have more fun with the Wii U. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'd have to answer that in a few years probably. Have you ever been to I assume you mean LeClaire, Wisconsin. No, not personally. I might have driven past it. But I've never actually stopped in there. What are my thoughts about the Switch? Already talked about that. Again, this video will be eventually uploaded to YouTube just as like a full thing. So if you want to go back and watch anything, you can. No, I don't hate the GameCube. I even talked about this in this thread. Whatever. Thoughts about making a game store tour of Titan Games. What's Titan Games? I don't know what that is. Do you think the Dreamcast could have succeeded with GTA 3? It certainly wouldn't have hurt matters. Certainly possible. Lara Croft or Princess Peach? In what context? Greatest game find that was that's an expensive game you found for a low price. I don't remember offhand. I know that's happened to me many times, and anytime it does, at least in the last few years, I talk about it on Playload when I put those out. I don't have nothing's coming to mind right now. All right, I guess the all-time best one for me, if I think about it really, would be the Panzer Dragoon collection for the Saturn. There was a guy on eBay selling Panzer Dragoon 1, 2, and Saga, all complete, boxed, minty fresh, and he only wanted $80. Buy it now. Didn't hesitate, because Panzer Dragoon Saga especially is an expensive game. So there you go. That was happy. Titan Games is a retro game shop in Villa Park, Illinois. Maybe I have been there. I honestly don't remember. If I did, it was only once. Where I got my Odyssey 2. My Odyssey 2 was given to me, so it couldn't have been that. I don't know. I'm confused about that, but okay. Have I played Burnout 3? A little bit. I think we did a Burnout video early on in Game Society Pimps. I think that happened. Do I like Jet Grind Radio? Yes, I do. I've beaten that game once, like all the way through a couple of years ago. TurboGrafx 16 or Sega Saturn? Personally, Sega Saturn, because it's just the history of it. But TurboGrafx 16 is definitely making this like weird comeback. It's kind of nice. And it probably has the better game library, if I'm honest. How did I meet John Turk? Again, John Turk is the guy who played Sub-Zero and Scorpion and all these other people in Mortal Kombat games. He also played Shang Tsung. I was directing a film called Henchman. If you look at my IMDb page, you can see it there. And we were going through casting, and we had this character written who was like a guard, right? And I was talking to one of my producers, and I was like, yeah, because we were going through the casting call, people coming in, and I never quite found somebody for that role. And he was like, well, do you want John Turk? And I'm like, who's John Turk? He's like, dude, you're into video games. You don't know who John Turk is? He explains to me. He's like, look, I'll give him a call. You're going to get John Turk. And I was like, all right, shit. And then sure enough, John Turk shows up on set. His name in the movie was Thug Zero, which was a nice little nod to him. Favorite retro game store in Wisconsin. You have to understand, I'm not from Wisconsin. I'm from Illinois. I'm from Chicago. So the only real time I get to spend in Wisconsin is when I'm up in Madison, because I have to do a lot of work up there. Madison has really only one dedicated retro game store, Video Game Exchange. So I guess by default, that's my answer, only because I haven't gone throughout the state trying to find others. It's weird to become a cheap console to collect for. I'm not sure what you're talking about. How did I meet the Sega Genesis? Is that even a question? Why did the PS Vita fail? The common answer to that is that people don't want complex games on the go. They want simple games on the go they can pick up and go, not AAA titles. That's the common answer. I guess that there's probably some truth to that. I think I remember you mentioning Titan Games in your Atari 5200 controller cleaning and restoring video. Oh, was that them? Oh, thank you for that. All right, so yeah, I guess I have been to Titan Games. My girlfriend and I went there, God, that must have been like early 2015. That's where I got an Intellivision 2 and an Atari 5200 controller. I've legitimately wanted to know what the name of that store was, because I'd completely forgotten it, and I kind of want to go back there. So thank you. That's actually really helpful. Titan Games. That's good to know. When is the fan Shenmue documentary coming out that you're in? If you guys don't know that, my buddy Adam Scipione, he's a Canadian. Scott, where are you? He's making a documentary about Shenmue, and I have no idea when it's coming out. I was just in it. I shot footage for it before Shenmue 3 was announced, and then after it was, I shot more footage. So I have no idea what the plan is for that. I'm just a guy in it. I have nothing to do with its production. Which game studio would you like to visit that you haven't been to before? There's only a couple I have been to. I've been to Microsoft's. I've been to Ubisoft many times. And I've been to 2K many times. Other than that, I haven't really been to anybody's. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a great answer to that one. There would have obviously been a time I would have liked to have gone to Sega's headquarters in San Francisco, but it no longer exists. I don't know, man. Bethesda would be kind of cool just to see how they operate. But I don't know. I'm actually more interested in in seeing studios in other countries. I think that's more fascinating than just finding the domestic ones. But maybe that's because, I don't know, there's only so many times you can go to San Francisco. Apparently I don't care for Halo. I'm indifferent to it, but some people say I hate it because I'm indifferent to it. So whatever. You draw your own conclusions. Why am I popular in England? I have no idea, dude. I have no idea. But there is some truth to that, and my girlfriend can attest to that. Like, 3 times this summer walking around in just the streets, somebody would come up to me and be like, I'm sorry, I don't mean, I'm going to do a bad British accent, so all of you get prepared to laugh. I'm sorry, I don't mean to bother you, but are you Adam Koralik, YouTube? 3 fucking times. I don't get it either. It makes no sense to me, but it's really cool. Why do you think the Genesis was so popular in Brazil? It's still going on there, dude. So is the Sega Master System. They haven't pulled. It apparently has a lot to do with Brazil's import laws and like their extreme taxing that they do to people. So that's likely the reason. Is because that's older stuff and it doesn't really have that issue. Do I have any South Korean games? The only one I have... Actually, that's not true. I was going to say I have ZillerNet for the original Xbox, which was an exclusive to South Korea. But I also have Virtual On for the Sega Saturn. And the reason I have that was I was given it. But it's interesting because the Sega Saturn in South Korea wasn't called the Sega Saturn. It was called the Samsung Saturn because Japanese products are not traditionally allowed to be released in South Korea unless it's through association of a South Korean company. So Samsung said, okay, we'll cut a deal with Sega. And then Sega's name is nowhere on it. It just says Samsung. So I have that. But in general, I don't have much South Korean stuff because you don't really find it around here. Have I ever met Happy Console Gamer? No, I have not. I've Skyped with him a couple of times, but that's about it. Like we know each other, we talk, but like I've never met him. We never go to like the same conventions or anything like that. He mostly does the West Coast stuff when he does conventions, and I have mostly been in the East Coast or the Southwest, or I'm sorry, the Southeast, so like Atlanta and stuff like that. But he mostly stays over in like Seattle and all that. I've done PAX Prime a couple times, but the years I went, he wasn't there. Do I own a new one? No, I don't. Samsung's one attempt at a home console. And it was more or less, it was kind of like the CDI in that it was just a media playback device that happened to support gaming content. I have played one. I played one at Gamescom in Germany last year. That was cool. Would I ever go to E3? I'd like to, but it's like what I was saying before. Like, it's a really expensive endeavor to get to these things, so it's not worth it because I don't live in the area. It would cost me a lot to go there, and I get nothing really out of it financially. And I got to work, so I would go, or if I could at least get like hotels or airfare or something like that covered, but I can't. When did I graduate college? 2009. Do you think Dreamcast would have been more successful if they had advertised its blast processing abilities? It didn't have that? That wasn't part of it? Have I met Metal Jesus Rocks? No, I have not. I've never even talked to him. He's in Seattle. Yeah, he's very well known in that side. We just, again, never happened to have been to any of the same events. Do I know the AVGN? I don't know him very well. I've met him twice. There's absolutely no chance at all he would remember my name. I met him at Too Many Games. I got a photo with him, and I met him at AVGC, a video game con in New Jersey. But no, he wouldn't remember me. I hung out with Angry Joe a couple of times, but same thing. He would never remember me. You tweeted about our project. Thank you very much. I assume Hugo Frey, you're the Kickstarter for I'm sorry, In the Line of Fire. Actually, all right, confirm that if you don't mind. What is Canadian chicken like? It's good. Swiss Chalet for the win. Any Canadian or American or anybody who's ever been to Canada, go to Swiss Chalet. It's fucking great. I know to the Canadians that's like a joke. It's like recommending going to Denny's or something, but it's just, that's fucking awesome rotisserie chicken. Every time, Scott will attest to this, every time I go up there, I'm like, let's go. Come on, let's go. Do I watch Gaming Historian? Yes, I do. I know Norm pretty decently. We've hung out a couple of times at conventions, talked on Twitter, through private messages, stuff like that. Oh, there is one other convention I'm going to that I can tell you about, but it's not for a long time. August, I forget the exact dates. August, I'm going to the Missouri Game Con. So if you want to come out for that, come on out. Okay, yeah, In the Line of Fire. At the beginning of this broadcast, I talked about In the Line of Fire's Kickstarter. I'll do a quick another discussion point about it because it's kind of important. If you're into the Dreamcast, In the Line of Fire is a new Dreamcast game potentially coming out. There's a Kickstarter for it currently. Interesting thing about it is it's a 3D FPS, and they've vowed that if they reach a certain stretch goal, they will not only make the game and all that stuff, but they'll actually donate the engine for the game to other independent developers, so you can see more 3D based Dreamcast games. So I say it's totally worth checking out and supporting. I backed it this morning. I hope you take a look. Rarest Atari 2600 game, I don't know personally. I'm not the guy to ask about stuff like that. There's a lot of people who know better. Like is my buddy Toyrad up in Canada would know a lot. Like he's a second gen like hardcore dude. There's a guy at in St. Louis. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Runs a store, but it's called Trading Games. And he has this insane collection of Atari stuff and second gen stuff. He's got literally a vault full of like irreplaceables, and that's a hell of a sight. Where it's like, oh yeah, this is the rarest game. There's only like 2 copies of this in existence, and I have both of them, or whatever. And it's like, oh my god, I did a video on it. If you guys are curious, you can check it out. It's called something like most insane collection I've ever seen, or something like that. How will we know when a console is Gen 9? I don't know. Good restaurants in Chicago. We got everything here, man. It really depends on what you want. What we're best known for is like deep dish pizza. That's kind of the stereotype. A lot of meat, stuff like that, like good cuts of steak, things like that. Burgers. Beef. There's the Chicago hot dog, which personally I don't like. But there's a lot of stuff. Have I ever been to VidCon? No, I have not. My buddy Aaron goes every year to represent us at Game Society over there. That's in Los Angeles. I'd love to go, but they're usually only willing to bring one of us, and he always jumps up for that one. So I let him go because I end up going to a lot of other conventions. Do I know JonTron? No, I do not. Hyperscan or Wii U? Obviously Wii U. Do I own a PSP? I have a couple of them, actually. Shout out to, if you're still watching, Julian. Thank you. Julian and Mike hooked me up with a white PSP a while ago. So I went looking for a GameCube today. $208 in Brazil. Basic set. And now you know why they still support the Master System and the Genesis. I've never been to Brazil, but obviously they have a lot of financial issues currently, and I'm sorry, I don't mean that as an offensive statement. I mean, I'm sure you guys will be the first ones to say that everything is way too expensive there. John's calling me a traitor for saying Chicago dogs rock. I'm sorry, they're filled with shit I don't want to eat, like jalapenos and all this other crap. I'm like, no, I don't want this shit. I just want a hot dog. My girlfriend was totally for the Chicago hot dog. She loved it, but I was like, nah. How do you join Game Society? You don't. It's not a club. You can watch us. You can back us on Patreon, all that kind of stuff. You can be a super fan. You can even play games with us and be in videos, but that's a Patreon perk. But like become a member, there's we're a team of content producers. Like you don't. We're not hiring. Yeah, Julian's still here. What's up, man? Actually, hang on one second, Julian. Where'd you go? Julian is now an admin. Be careful. He's almost as dangerous as Scott. Almost. I'm not just a Bulls fan. Like all right. Bulls, hell yes. Blackhawks, it's a distant second, but yeah, I like the Blackhawks. Cubs and Sox, pretty much interchangeable to me, honestly, just because whatever. But I was very happy the Cubs won. I really got into Game 7, etc. But I'm going to be honest with you. Don't give a fuck about the Bears. I don't care about football. I know it's not a popular opinion, but football to me is a brutally boring game. And I mean American hand-egg, not soccer, which I have no interest in soccer either. And we do have a soccer team, but nobody even remembers that. Sorry, just how it is. If the Bears last went to the Super Bowl, 10 years ago? 2006, I think it was. And the most I did for that was occasionally check out the score on ESPN.com. So, go Wolves. I assume you... Do you mean Chicago Wolves? Because I used to go to Chicago Wolves games when I was a kid. Have they ever lost a game? Aren't they like the Harlem Globetrotters of the IHL? Yes, you should be terrified of Scott. He's a sick fuck. He is a sick, sick fuck. Have I ever heard of Snack the Gamer? I have not. NBA Jam or NBA 2K? I've definitely had more fun playing NBA Jam, like OG NBA Jam. I never really played any of the remakes. Do I like Power Stone in 1 and 2? Hell yes, I do. I love those games. This is a nice sarcastic question. Plans on a slow shoot series? Is that not what this is? This is very slow, very long, very drawn out. This is a slow shoot series. Favorite GameCube game? Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. Left-handed or right-handed? Left-handed, which I think means I'm the devil or something. I don't know how that works. Have I ever been to New Zealand? No, I have been to Australia, but I know that's not a very good answer. It's like someone from Asia being like, hey, have you ever been to the United States? No, but I've been to Canada. It's like, it's not the same place. Scott is demanding his last Dreamcast games get fucked. No. Scott is working on what he calls a complete Dreamcast collection. Really, it's just the North American stuff, so it's not even close to a complete collection, but he calls it that. And he's only 10 away. Actually, why don't you put the names of the games in the description? See if anybody can help keep an eye out for you, man. Do you think publishers will have a subscription service like EA Access? Probably, if that's successful, although I haven't really heard much about that from anyone else. What's worse, European PS2 exclusives or the Hyperscan? Hyperscan only has 6 games, and they all require cards. It's a completely unplayable platform. European PS2 exclusives are just hilariously bad, but at least they are playable. Do I own a Sega CDX? Yes, I have 2 of them. Am I going to Croatia? I have no current plans to. There was a small chance of that happening. Back in the day, I had a film called The Lion's Den, which I think has a trailer on this channel. I've never put the full video up. I submitted it to a film festival there because it's actually based on material from there. And it almost got in, and if it had been in, they would have brought me out, but they didn't end up picking me, so I didn't go. How do I make audio better for Shenmue 2 on DC? I'm not sure what you mean by that. What do you think about single-player Ubisofts going online only? Oh, dude. Next time I see them, I'm going to ask them what the fuck is up with that. Because that's online DRM. I hate that shit. Like, that kind of broke my heart, because I played For Honor already. I've played the single-player mode. I was at an event for that a few weeks ago. And I liked the game a hell of a lot. And then when I found that out, I was like, oh, that sucks. So that hurt. But the people I know are the PR team. They don't make those choices. Was there a time when you felt burned out on gaming? Kind of. Like when I just never wanted to game again. Obviously that didn't last. So I don't know. Do I like Space Jam? Yeah, I wanted to go see they re-released the movie in theaters for 2 days this year because it was the 20th anniversary. I really wanted to go, but I was unable to. I was in San Francisco. Do I own a PS4 Slim? No, I do not. Though Best Buy has a pretty decent sale on it right now. You can buy it for $250. It comes with a $50 gift card, and you also get like all the reward zone points and all that stuff. So that's not bad. But you'd be better off just going with a Pro, honestly. What's better, Pokemon or Digimon? I don't give a fuck about either of them. I'm going to be honest. Here's something you guys might not know. I don't give a shit about anime. I never did and never will. I'm sorry. I don't care. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you're stupid if you like it or anything like that. There's no negativity towards it. I just never gave a shit. It literally gives me headaches when I try to watch anime. Like the animation actually, I'm like, ow, ow, ow. Like I just can't. I literally can't watch it. Resident Evil or Silent Hill? As an overall franchise, I'm going to go Resident Evil, but some of those Silent Hill 1, man, that is a tough game to be better than. Silent Hill 2 is really solid too, but it got diluted over time. Not that Resident Evil hasn't, but I think Resident Evil has more quality titles than Silent Hill does. Have I ever felt burnt out on collecting? Yeah, of course. Have I ever been to the Game Awards? No, I have not. Do I like the Fallout series? I haven't played it nearly enough, which is kind of embarrassing because we do a series on it on my other channel. So we did Fallout for Pimps, which is Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4. So yeah, but it's fun to make a show out of, but I never really got too into the game itself. Can I recommend any FrameMeister alternatives? You might just be you might see a video of that sometime soon. Or if you listen to the Patreon podcast, you'd already know. Which I guess I hate plugging the Patreon because it's not a priority for me. But if you aren't aware, yes, I do have a Patreon. If you want to support it, which I don't ask of anybody, you can. And the perk for that is that you get a podcast like at the beginning of each month. That same podcast is made public on this channel because I'm not trying to withhold content from anybody. It's just a bonus for thanking you for supporting the channel. So if you want to do that, you can check that out. If not, no problem. Would I rather eat dog shit or play Hyperscan? Obviously play the Hyperscan. Come on, man. Have you played Last Guardian? No, and I really want to. Have you played Theme Park? I think I have that for the Sega Saturn. Beyond that, I don't know. Have I played Final Fantasy 15? No. I don't really care about Final Fantasy. I know that's, again, not a popular opinion, but I don't really like RPGs. I never really did. So I just don't care. Would I support digital if it was the only option for new games? No, I would not. Will I be buying Yakuza 0? Yes, I will. In fact, I pre-ordered it during a Best Buy glitch, so I got it for a lot cheaper. Never get rid of the beard. I don't really intend to, although I did trim it recently, as you guys can see. Got it looking nice for the holidays. Would you want a Shenmue 1 and 2 HD remaster? Of course. I'd love it if not only they remastered it, but they made it compatible with Shenmue 3, because transferring your save was actually a really important feature that a lot of people underestimate. I did a video on it years ago talking about why it actually matters. It's not just, ooh, I brought over my toys. It's much more complicated than that. But it may not be possible to do that with Shenmue 3 unless they do it with Shenmue 1 and 2, and then they actually... Because Sega is responsible for Shenmue 1 and 2. Yu Suzuki is not. Yu Suzuki is responsible for Shenmue 3. So they would have to collaborate enough to make sure that works. And who the fuck knows? Guilty pleasure game. Something like Star Wars Episode 1 for the PS1. I love that game, but only because you can turn on codes and just do horrible, horrible things to the people in that game. Just go around murdering everyone like you're not supposed to. It's a terrible game, but with codes, it's a completely different experience, and I love it. Again, on my other channel, Game Society Pimps, we did this like Star Wars compilation video, and you can see a video of us playing it in the middle. That video is pretty cool because my buddy voices Darth Vader for Lucasfilm in the video games and stuff, and so we play the video games he's in, and he like makes fun of himself as Darth Vader. It's pretty cool. What games have you played and completed that you really enjoyed? Oh, dude, there's so many. Obviously, like anybody. The last one that I played all the way through to completion that I really liked was, I believe, Lego Batman 3 plus all the DLC. That was fun. If Sega were to ever release a surprise console, would you support it? I would be so fucking confused if they did. They can't afford to do that, and they're not even really a game developer anymore. The Sega we know now sucks. The only thing that's good about them is that they're not assholes to the people who used to work for them who want to go off and make their IPs. Have I ever considered collecting Sega Naomi boards? No. No interest. Have I played Turok on N64 when I was a kid? I don't remember it all that well. I don't remember liking it all that much. Most hated business practice from game companies. It's gonna be online required DRM shit. I hate that. It makes the game a literal coaster. You can't use it without an internet connection, and especially games that are only online, like things like Titanfall and stuff. It's like there's a reason those games become worthless. They're unplayable in the future. It's not a smart move. Don't even. I never support shit like that. Do I ever feel tempted to play emulators because of high resolution? No. I like the authentic hardware. I will push the authentic hardware to its limits. I'll use things like a FrameMeister and all that stuff, but I want the authentic experience. I don't knock anybody who wants to use an emulator. It's just not for me. Have I played Far Cry 1? No, I should. Have I played Tony Hawk? Yeah, I played Tony Hawk 1 and 2 a lot. Played 3 a bit. 2X I played a lot, 4 a little bit, and 5 only for the purposes of a video. And man, was that game bad. Man, that was bad. Would I rather punch Peter Moore or Don Matrick? I'm not punching anybody. I don't want to go to jail. I'm not assaulting anybody. If Sega were to make a new console, what would it be called? I don't fucking know, man. Like, Exodus was often joked about, you know, because there was Genesis and there was Exodus, I guess, as, you know, the rebirth, whatever. But I don't know. I don't. Sega's not gonna make another console. It's ridiculous to think they will, and I'm so tired of these fake Dreamcast 2 rumors. It's like, no, 1,000 times no. That will never happen. Pancakes or waffles? Ooh, I'm gonna go pancakes. I think I'm gonna go pancakes. I like waffles. Don't get me wrong, but it again, it depends on how you make them. But I probably would go pancakes, like when they're on equal footing. Do I own an N-Gage? Dude, I own almost an N-Gage complete collection. I'm only like one game away. Just found your channel by Wii Video and you're streaming. Lel. Well, thank you. Welcome. When was the last time I went to someone's birthday party? Fuck, I don't remember. I don't know. I never really think about that. I took my mom out for her birthday. Does that count? What should you eat at Swiss Chalet tonight, Scott? You're gonna eat waffles at Swiss Chalet? Yeah, whatever. Do you? Put that gross Swiss Chalet sauce on them. I love Swiss Chalet, but that sauce is gross. What is the worst video game journalism site in your opinion? I don't know, because I don't read that many of them. So I don't know. I don't know. 1 to 10, how much do you love the N64 DD? I assume 1 is like, oh, it's the Wii, and 10 is like, it's the Dreamcast. It's hard to say. From a technological standpoint, it could be like a 7 or an 8, but game quality standpoint, it's like a 2. You know, like there's nothing on there to play. So it's kind of useless, but it's a really cool piece of hardware. What did I do for my birthday? The night before, I was live streaming in Madison, Wisconsin on Game Society. And then I was stuck in Madison. The one thing I wanted for my birthday was to not be in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was forced to spend half the day there. And then I spent most of it driving back, stuck in traffic, got home, and then I think I watched a movie. Like, I really didn't do anything. That was my 30th birthday. What's my favorite Star Wars movie? Return of the Jedi. I know Return of the Jedi kind of starts slow, and then the ending isn't really as well written as it should be, but it goes out on such a strong note. I don't know. I love that one. But Rogue One, man, was fucking great, but we won't talk about that here. Because, again, did a whole video on it. But obviously, the conventional answer is Empire, which I love Empire, but I don't know. I love Return of the Jedi, but knowing what I know now about how it was supposed to end, it does kind of hurt it. And I obviously love A New Hope, but A New Hope has a bunch of interesting glitches in it, like because they were unsure about stuff, you know, like Carrie Fisher having a British accent for like half the movie and not for the other half. Favorite musical artist? As I keep saying, man, I'm musically retarded. I can name like 10 musicians in the history of the planet. I guess if I have to answer that, I'm going to say John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra. I like movie music, you know? How many OG Xbox how many games have I got? I don't know offhand. A bunch. Good thing about them is they're cheap. Will PSVR save Sony? I highly doubt it. Scott says Rogue One was better than episodes 1 through 3, not as good as 4 through 7. You know, the weird thing is, I don't want to go too much into Star Wars here, but I'm falling out of love with Force Awakens. Like, the more I think about that movie, the more it really sinks in that it was just A New Hope with Empire and Jedi's greatest highlights thrown in. Again, I actually did a video on Force Awakens similar to this, where I just talked about that movie and the issues I had with it. And it was basically like there were small things throughout, and then there was 3 issues I really had, but the biggest one that I just can't get over was the fact that they really did the Death Star again. I hated that so much, and I would have forgiven everything else if at the very least they didn't succeed in destroying it. That legitimately pissed me off. I hated that. Do I support the idea of modding a console? Absolutely. Why am I so goddamn awesome? I'm not, but thank you. You have to get a Dreamcast. Not only do I have one, I've got a video on it. I've got one of the only videos on YouTube about it. Favorite SNES game? Probably Super Mario World. N64 or PS1? That's a tough call, man. Day to day, like, my answer is going to switch. Right now, I'm feeling N64. Tomorrow, it might be PS1. Do I have Redux 2 on pre-order? I didn't even know there was a Redux 2. Somebody... no, I didn't know. How do you talk without breathing? It's impressive. I got the Vader like chest thing. It just does that for me. I'm all set. I should talk about how much I love John Wick and The Equalizer, which is a similar movie with Denzel Washington crushing mofos. I did like John Wick. My girlfriend and I watched it. We thought it was fucking great. I haven't seen The Equalizer. I know that you've said it was very similar. Thanks, Scott. Attack of the Clones shit is greater than Force Awakens. That I don't agree with. Force Awakens was not a boring movie. It just wasn't a very original or creative movie. Whereas Attack of the Clones was just a legitimately boring film. It does what it can to further the story. It's just not told particularly well. And I didn't like that. I think that story is interesting when executed correctly because the Clone Wars TV show proved that. It was fantastic at telling us what the hell was going on. So if you actually watch Attack of the Clones with commentary, you'll see that it could have been a much more interesting movie. And they even say, oh, we're going to address this thing and that thing in Revenge of the Sith, which they didn't call it Revenge of the Sith because they didn't know the title, but that never happened. It just feels like such a massively missed opportunity. I feel like I've said this before, but I feel like with Phantom Menace, even though it wasn't a competent movie, it was not a boring movie. Except for some of the parts in the middle, obviously. But it basically just kept going. And you can tell it tried. It shot on locations that used film stock, etc. Revenge of the Sith tried really hard, too. Especially when you know more of the background on it. I'm not going to talk too much about this again. Did a whole thing on it. But Attack of the Clones is just straight up like, it has to be this weird middle piece. Did you pre-order the physical version of Res HD for the PS4? Yeah, I have it. It's in my hands. Well, it's not in my hands, but it's over there. Do I ever strongly disagree with the critics on a game before? No, I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck what critics say about anything. I like to judge shit for myself. It's nice to get some base opinions of where things stand, but I prefer to just draw my own conclusions. Which do you like better, Sonic Adventure 1 or Sonic Adventure 2? Sonic Adventure 1, definitely. I already talked a bit about that earlier in the stream, though. When was the last time I was clean shaven? It was years ago. Maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. Which Dreamcast prototype accessory would you rather own? The VMU MP3 player or the zip drive? Probably the zip drive because it's much more interesting looking. It's just more of a display piece. Whereas the MP3 player could easily be just mistaken for a little weird VMU. I don't know. Any plans to come to Australia? Nothing currently. I've been there when I was 9 or so. I was actually there in the brief 6 months in which the Dreamcast was relevant down there. I remember going into some sort of store and they actually had it, so that was cool. Best Wii game? I'm not the person to ask. I mean, honestly, of all the Wii games out there that I can say I even formed any sort of bond with, it would have to be Wii Sports, which is the entire problem. I suddenly can't remember the name of the Max World, something like that Sega put out. It was like a really violent game. It was like a third-party game that was supposed to be like, this is what third-party games can be on the Wii. That was supposed to be really good, but it sold like shit because people didn't want to buy that kind of stuff for the Wii. First time I heard of the Sega Saturn, years ago. It was, I don't remember offhand. It was like after the Dreamcast. Where did Figure It Out come from? So that's kind of an amusing story. So as you guys might know, I went to film school, so I needed to go through all the film courses. And on the set of a film on a film set. There's a lot of Mad World. Thank you. A lot of people are saying Mad World is the Wii game. There's a lot of phrases that come up on a film set like fuck, shit, we'll figure it out. Like there's a bunch of just things that are common phrases that are said. Figure it out being the only one that generally isn't a derogatory term. And then I had to film this one sequence for a class where I had cast someone who had to say that line. He had to say, just figure it out. But he couldn't say the line consistently, like ever. And he did it like 1,000 different ways, and it just became hilarious. And so I don't know. It was just those two things. And I was like, that's a great name. Figure It Out Productions. Why not? And then I created myself a production company. In fact, the voice you hear at the beginning is not me. It's actually my cousin saying it. Because at the time he was a member. He no longer is. But so he's been in every single one of these videos. Do you have any African games? Do you mean like Cabela's African Safari, or do you mean games actually like from Africa? Because if you mean that, no, I don't. I didn't even know there were any. Like I wouldn't be able to name a single one. Wii or Atari 5200, both are unplayable. Their controllers render them useless. I think the Atari 5200 gives you a more like arcade fun experience if you can play it, which you can't, and the Wii offers you a good gaming console experience if you can play it, which you can't. So fuck them both. Will Nintendo ever be a third-party developer? They seem like they're testing that possibility with some of these mobile games. Adam, thoughts on many PS4 games running worse on the PS4 Pro? Is that confirmed? I hadn't heard that. Hey, Ben's here. Shenmue. Where are you, dude? Why haven't you been saying anything? He's your British admin, and he's just as fucking dangerous as all the others. Do you have any games on cassette? Not personally. The only one I ever purchased was a Ghostbusters game when I was in the UK, and I brought it back to Scott the Canadian because he's a big Ghostbusters super fan. Actually, are there any Europeans out there who have the Ghostbusters games for the Game Boy Advance? Because he's looking for those. Which videos are not part of the Quick Shoot series? Simple. A lot of the short films I was just talking about, the ones that are up there. There was a lot of older projects I had to take down for content ID reasons, and then there's things like my Jurassic Park adaptation, my Back to the Future adaptation, all that stuff. That's not the stuff you guys mostly know me for is part of that. The original idea was that as a production company, we're going to have a whole bunch of different series going, but it didn't line up with basically YouTube's content ID policies and the fact that there's just no money in short films. You can't produce them. They're too expensive, and you get nothing out of them other than practice. And while I loved doing that, you just can't pay to keep doing that infinitely. So I kind of stopped. I have a bunch I never put up, but every time I tried and tested those waters, I would just get a lot of where's the video games? I don't want this. What is this? Downvote. I don't care. And so I was like, fuck it. They don't want to see it. I won't bother showing it to them. Why are all the Shin Megami Tensei games so damn expensive? Highly sought after, low production runs? I don't know. I've never really sought them out other than there's one on the Xbox in Japan. I have that. Do I have a Famicom Disk System collection? I have like 3 games for it. But I wouldn't really call that a collection. Do I have a Zeebo? I don't even really know what a Zeebo is. I think I've heard that word before. Last of Us Part 2 looked pretty cool. Would you mod your Game Gear? You mean like another screen? That'd be nice, because the current screen is useless. But I've never really invested in it. What do I think of Alpha Omega Sin? I've never met Bill. I probably could. He goes to a lot of the same conventions that I typically go to. It's just we happen to never be at the same one at the same time. I watch his videos, I doubt he even knows that I exist, though. I don't think he knows me. Fan of Oddworld. I loved the original Oddworld on PS1. That was a fun game. I played that a lot. Do I have a Zoltar machine? What, like from fucking Big? No, of course I don't own that. I have seen one somewhere. Someone had one of those, like a replica one. Do I think I'll ever stop liking video games? Probably not, but I can't imagine the passion will remain there forever. It'll just be like a cool thing. What's the most money you ever paid for a crappy game? I don't know, dude, because when you go for full sets of stuff, you buy a lot of shit you know you're never going to play. Like, I got a lot of these, like, fucking crappy-ass date sims for the Dreamcast, and I'm just like, fuck, I have to spend money on this, and I don't even... fuck. So that's probably where that answer goes. Would you work for Rooster Teeth? I don't know. I have never been offered anything. I do work with Machinima, so there's that. Yeah, Ronald and Scott get together and talk about games. You guys are both legit dudes. I trust both of you. You guys are awesome. What do you think of YouTube's new algorithm? It fucking sucks. And actually, that's a perfect opportunity. Please like this video. I hate asking you to do it, but because of their bullshit, I have to ask you to do that because that's what they want me to say. And if you don't want to like the video, I don't hold it against you. It's up to you. The Zeebo is a 2008 home console released in Brazil and Mexico. No, I don't have that. I didn't even know about it, but I think I had heard the name somewhere. Shenmue 3 has to have nuanced use of the time dimension. It's what makes Shenmue live. Sure. I'm trying not to speculate too much on what I think is going to be in Shenmue 3. I kind of just want to go in fresh and just see whatever Yu Suzuki gives us. Do I play current games or retro games more? I kind of prefer retro games, but because of what I do, it's not really an option. Because I go to a lot of like media events and stuff, and that's ironically the time when I get to play the game most uninterrupted. You know, I get to just play a game and just see what it is. And so the last one I played was For Honor of new stuff. Do I ever watch Twitch? If so, do you have a favorite streamer? No, I do not. I have no interest in Twitch, to be honest with you. Though I will say that Twitch is probably... All right, when you do media stuff like I do, you get a lot of emails from people being like, you want to be part of this? Do you want to be part of that? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And unfortunately, you can't be involved with everything. You just can't. And so you always have one email you missed or you ignored that you regret. And that's mine. So what happened with me is when Twitch was just starting, I believe the guy's name was Justin Twitch, the guy who actually created Twitch. He contacted me through my other channel, not for this channel. And he was just like, yeah, I'm starting this thing called Twitch, and I'd really like you guys to get in on the ground floor and just be part of it and all this stuff. And we were kind of like, biggest regret of my, shall we say, YouTube career. I regret the hell out of that one. Favorite game soundtrack? I know it's going to sound like I'm biased, fanboy, but I'm going to go Shenmue. I love the Metal Gear Solid stuff. I love the Resident Evil soundtracks. Actually, you know one soundtrack I fucking love, and I've never even played the game? There's a game called Runbow for the Wii U, and I believe the Wii U version is North American exclusive currently, and it comes with like a little digital voucher to download the music. And I listened to it, and the fucking music is great. It is absolutely great. It's like Samba de Amigo meets like a Danny Elfman, Tim Burton movie. It's just so much fun to listen to. And I don't even really like music, but I fucking love that score. You backed Tanglewood, I presume. I believe that was the Genesis game. I don't think I did. I think I tweeted about it a couple of times. But I think that was it. I was like, hey guys, there's this Genesis game you can check out. Because the thing is, I get way too many emails like that. Like if I did that, you'd never see anything but, hey guys, here's another Kickstarter, go check it out. Like it never stops. Like I get those emails constantly, and you just gotta be more selective. And I feel bad because it's not like I don't want their project to succeed. It's not like I wouldn't love to see a Dreamcast version 2, but you guys would literally get a video from me every day, be like, okay, here's another game. You just can't. You guys would get sick of it. I would get sick of it, and it sucks. It just sucks because I'd love to help more people out if I can. Favorite game in my NES collection? I guess I would say my favorite game on the NES in general would be Super Mario Bros. 3. But to be honest, all my memories of it really come from the Super Nintendo remake. The NES was a little before my time, so anything I really played on it was very retroactive, and the only ones I remember playing a lot as a kid were just some of the games my cousins had, and none of the games I played with them were particularly good. But it's, you know, it was things like the first Ninja Turtles game. I had a lot of fun with it as a kid, but I don't. It obviously isn't a game that holds up particularly well. Opinion on the at-game clone systems. Oh, those things fucking suck. I can't believe people buy those things. They get duped into buying those retarded pieces of shit. Those things are crap. You should never buy those, especially Genesis ones. There's no reason to buy a Genesis clone. Like, those things are a dime a dozen, man. Genesis consoles are not hard to get. They're super common, and they're fucking reliable. The clones are shit. But that's me. I also have a passion for authentic hardware. Favorite Master System game? That's a tough one because I'm not super familiar with its library. I might have to go with something weird like Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. I know Phantasy Star is like the de facto answer, but Phantasy Star was never really my thing, again, because RPGs. So wow, I've actually been streaming for almost 2 hours. Can you believe that shit? In 6 minutes, it will have been 2 hours. So I think I'll actually, at 2 hours, I'll probably stop because I'm sure you guys are getting tired of this. Have I ever worked retail? Yes, I did. I worked at a grocery store for a year. That was an interesting job because we didn't have scanners. You know, it was a crazy idea to be able to scan stuff. So every item in the store had like a code associated with it. And so I would have to memorize these codes and be like, you know, banana, that's number 28. You know, it was like learning another language. And that's how you had to do everything. Thoughts on legal emulation? I got nothing against it. I don't support it. I don't care about it. It's more like indifference. If other people want to do it, do it. Anthony says, my New Year's resolution is that Sony stays alive in order to deliver the PS5. What's mine? Not really sure that's your resolution. That's more like Sony's. I don't know what mine is yet. I haven't really thought that much about it. Probably just lose some weight, you know. Those kind of basic ones. Would I buy the SNES or Mega Drive component cables? Fuck no. I don't care about those things. You get beautiful RPG out of those RGB, sorry, out of those consoles, and you just don't need that shit. You can run them through the FrameMeister. The component cables are actually a negative because component is not supported on modern televisions. Like, go look at 4K TVs. They don't have component ports. It's really weird. The only reason they put component on stuff like that is because we never had SCART in North America. So I would highly not recommend that. I would say get the RGB cables and use a FrameMeister. But that's an expensive solution. I recognize that. Sad thing about FrameMeisters is they're now discontinued. So when they were expensive at $400, now you'll wish you had picked one up because now I've seen some places selling them for like $2,500. It's like, holy fuck. So it's too bad that got out of control. There might be a solution though. I'll talk about that in my podcast. Actually, again, Patreon backers have already heard that. So, and you guys will probably see a video on it at some point. You definitely will. It'll just be a while. Must-have games for the N64. Obviously, that varies from person to person. My all-time favorite game for that console was GoldenEye. I know that's a game that a lot of people think didn't hold up very well, and they like playing the Resource. Scott the Canadian, obviously, very good at that game. Conker's Bad Fur Day I love. Granted, it's been re-released on the Xbox One. Probably would rather play the Xbox One version, honestly. But yeah, a Star Fox 64, which, you know, Star Fox Zero could have been, but it wasn't because of stupid peripheral decisions. But yeah, I got a lot of favorite N64 games, but I'd have to kind of like think about it a little bit longer. I should come to Western Canada. I almost went to Vancouver in like 2012. I was up in Seattle and I was like, hey, you know, we should just go up and drive up to Vancouver. And it was like, okay, sure. And then I realized I didn't have my passport with me, so I couldn't go. Do I like Shenmue 2 on Xbox or DC? On both, but I prefer the Dreamcast version. Primarily because of the ability to bring your save over from the first game. That really changes the experience. Why the fuck is it so impossible to get the N64 HDMI mod chip? I don't know. I believe that those guys who made it will not sell it by itself. They actually require you to buy a pre-modded console. That's probably why. They're probably not, they don't like the idea of people maybe reverse engineering it. I'm not really sure. Come to Bristol, UK. I don't know exactly where Bristol is. I was in the UK not too long ago. I was there in July. Did a fan meetup. I even did a video saying, hey, if you're in the UK, come on out. Which a lot of people showed up for. It was really cool. Ben, if you're still here, you know. Oh yeah, you are right there. Yeah, you know. Ben hung out with me. We all met up with fans. It was fun. And Ben signed his first autograph. Let's all applaud Ben. Yay! I'm not being condescending, I swear. What's my favorite video I've made on this channel? I think the thing I'm the most proud of on this channel actually is probably something most of you never saw, which was the Back to the Future 4 and 5 films, which I highly recommend, and I would really love it if you care at all about Back to the Future, I'm sure you'll love it. I just took Back to the Future, the game, and I captured all the footage, and I did a fuck ton of work to turn it into a cohesive couple of films. So it's basically Back to the Future 4 and 5. That's what I called it. And it actually was nice for me because it got into YouTube's algorithm for a while, so people were actually watching it, and I felt great about that. I was actually on the official Back to the Future podcast because of it, so I got to talk about the production of it, so that was fun. We should meet up and have beers sometime. Dude, I don't drink. I'd be no fun. Look what I've got here. I've got 2 bottles of water. One from my Con Bravo mug, which I went to Con Bravo, you know. I hope I get to go again next year because it's up in Hamilton, Ontario, near Toronto. And then I have an AT&T one just because I got a free one from AT&T for some reason. And then I have coconut milk in a Stanford Court Hotel bottle from San Francisco. So we're about to hit 2 hours. I'm going to put it to a vote. Do you guys want me to keep going? Or is this just like, dude, stop. This is fucking shit. Pepsi or Coca-Cola? Depends on the version. In the United States, all of our soda contains a chemical called high fructose corn syrup, not sugar. It's essentially an ingredient that's illegal in pretty much every other country on the planet. And if you have that, your body's not supposed to digest it. It's not food. But with that in place, I think Pepsi tastes better. If you go with real sugar, Coca-Cola tastes better, like Mexican Coke or pretty much any Coke on any other country except for the US and Canada. Canada doesn't use real sugar either. They use like their own mutant thing. But as Ronald just pointed out, the best version of a Coca-Cola or Pepsi on the planet, German Coca-Cola. Only available in Germany. It's fucking unreal. It's absolutely the best. And okay, I see you guys saying keep going. All right, I'll go for a little bit while longer. All right, I'll go. But German Coca-Cola, I had it when I was at Gamescom with Ronald and my girlfriend, and I was like, why the fuck is this so good? Like, I could never figure it out. And it wasn't just because it was real sugar, because I'd had the real sugar stuff many times, but I was like, this is so much fucking better. And I could not get an answer. And then I went to an event for Mafia 3, 2K's headquarters, a few months ago. And one of the lead developers was from Germany, and I was talking to him about that. And he basically just said, I asked him, like, what's the deal? Why is German Coke so good? As if just because he's from Germany, he's going to know. But oddly enough, he actually knew. He's like, it's because of the water supply. I'm like, what do you mean the water supply? He's like, Germany has very high standards on its water. And it's like where our beer is so strong and stuff. And we force that same policy into things like Coca-Cola. I was like, oh my God, it all makes sense. It makes sense now. And so the last time I got to hang out with my girlfriend was in Paris last month because Ubisoft brought me out there, which we did a video on. You should check that out. Game Society Pimps did a video on Ubisoft's headquarters. It's fucking hilarious. But she had to change planes in Munich. I'm like, I don't want anything just except for fucking German Coke. Give me some German Coke in the airport. So she brought me some. And you can ask her. I was just like, oh, this is so good. Oh my God. She's like, chill, homie, chill. It was great. And I kept one, and then I had it later. Scott the Canadian is heading out, going off to Swiss Chalet. Everyone wish him a happy Canooking or whatever Canadians do. What do I think of Commodores and Amigas? If you're talking about the PCs, I don't really have any strong opinion on them. I don't have them. The only thing I have from Commodore is the Amiga CD32, which I do like. I did a video on it. You can watch that. Crystal Pepsi is Bay, I think is what you mean. Sorry, or what I mean. So again, Crystal Pepsi, the US and Canada got it. Canada got it first, but they taste different because of what's in them. And even though the Canadian one wasn't as bad for you, even though they're both terrible for you because they're just essentially sugar water, I thought the American one tasted better, but that's only because I'd gotten used to what high fructose corn syrup Pepsi tastes like. But in my opinion, I never, ever drink that stuff. It's terrible for you, especially the American versions of those things. If you're an American and you like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, support the real ones. Get Mexican Coke and just let them know, like, vote with your wallet. Don't buy the high fructose stuff. I know it's cheap. That's the whole point. That's why they do it, because it's cheap. But it's also so fucking bad for you. Mexican Coke is darn good. Mexican Pepsi is not as good. I agree. That's the sad part, is I don't actually like Mexican Pepsi or real sugar Pepsi. There's two different versions. You can get both, real sugar Pepsi and Mexican Pepsi, both in the States. Although Mexican Pepsi is not easy to come by. Although I have a store around here that sells it. Pretty cheap too, ironically. But I actually don't like it. If I had to get a soda for any reason, like if I really need one right now, I'd go off and buy a Mexican Coke. What is the rarest Wii U game? Hope you get a UK visit soon. I'd love to come back to the UK. I think the rarest one, ironically, is one I don't own. There was a Skylanders game that was only released in Japan, and apparently only at like some convention or something. I think it's called like Spyro's Adventure. It's hard to even find proof that it exists, but I do know it exists because my buddy Ronald there has been holding onto it for a while for me, so I know it exists. He has it. It's real. But I believe that is actually, of all things, the hardest one to get. But a lot of that Japanese stuff is hard to get because it's you have to make, like, it was hard to find lists of like what games exist over there. But I did it. I don't have all of them certainly, but I at least know which ones exist currently. Weird thing about the Japanese stuff is you think the Wii U is doing bad here or in Europe. There hasn't been a new Wii U game in Japan for a while, especially an exclusive one. People are talking about Pepsi Blue. God, that was gross. I remember Pepsi Blue. Anybody else remember Pepsi Blue? That was some nasty shit. I feel like that would have worked if it had been like some sort of Mountain Dew flavor. I think it was just a psychological thing. When you drink a Pepsi, you expect it to taste a certain decent way. But it tasted more like a Mountain Dew, so it kind of fucks with your taste buds. Will Xbox One or Xbone be backwards compatible with original Xbox discs? I have no idea. I hope so. I know that it's not like Phil Spencer's never talked about it. I've been pushing for that for a while. I actually had a meeting with Chris Charla at PAX Prime 2015, and I asked him exactly the same thing. And, he said that they were kind of potentially interested, but, all the guys who are working on it are working on Xbox 360 compatibility. If you don't know Chris Charlie, he's basically number 2 at Xbox currently. Do you think the PS4 will be the last Sony console release? It's really hard to say. Because no matter how I answer that, people are gonna be like, "Oh, you hate Sony," or "You hate consoles," or some fucking retarded shit. The reason that could be Sony's last console is they might go out of business. Yes, that is possible. Or that they don't need to do that. You might go an all digital route, which is what I've been thinking for a long time. They've been pushing a lot of apps, like things that you can just put in your television. I think they're more interested in preserving PlayStation as a brand. But considering the shape of Sony currently, I don't know even if they know what to do. So I think that's part of the reason they pushed for PS4 Pro, was just to squeeze some more time out of this generation while they kind of try to reassess. So they have, like, as far as I'm concerned, they have a year until Scorpio comes out before they really need to start figuring out what that is. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Yes, Julian. Well, I didn't exactly find it. Ronald did. Do you like Hyper Era? I don't know what that is. I'm assuming some sort of anime or something. People are charging like $400 for a Dreamcast on eBay and Amazon. I haven't looked into Dreamcast prices in a long time. Since I've finished it, I didn't really have to. Is Sony as in bad a shape as Sega was when Sega put out the Dreamcast? No. But Sony's not in a good position. Because people, again, I know a lot of us are gamers, hence we're in this chat room together. But people often forget that Sony isn't just PlayStation. If it was, they'd be doing fantastic. But they're not. They have so many other departments, and all of them are tanking, and it costs them. It hurts them as a company. And so the PlayStation money is used to offset all those damages. And credit to them, they've been doing the best they can to restructure and keep themselves afloat. They're doing better than they were, but it's all pretty much on the back of the PlayStation 4. what is my opinion on this season's Chicago Bulls? They are such a mixed bag. They're a very poorly assembled team, but they've been kind of fun to watch. You know, it's weird to see Dwayne Wade in a Bulls jersey, but I'm happy that he's there. This season is all about attracting people for next season. This season, they're not going to do anything. They might potentially be the second best team in the East, but it doesn't mean anything. They're not going to win anything. I would actually kind of prefer they just tanked and just got a good draft pick and then did everything they could in the offseason to try and attract people like Chris Paul, or possibly, I think Blake Griffin's going to be up for free agency. Somebody, you know, to come over, because this current makeup of the team is not going anywhere. Yes, Sony did lose quite a bit of money on Ghostbusters 2016. They lost a lot more than people think. Paul Feig, the guy who directed that movie, basically said the movie had to make about $500 million to break even. And then people will inevitably bring up like pages like Box Office Mojo and say, no, the budget was this and it made this, so you're just wrong. It's like, no, you don't know shit about how movies work. The budget that first of all, the budget that Sony publicly claims is not true. Paul Feig said that himself. Second, the budget is only production budget. It doesn't include marketing, so you have to do at least double of that budget so if the budget is claimed to say 150 million, you double that to include marketing, so that's more like $300 million. But then you have to factor in that movie theaters take in a large part of how much money is brought in. So in the United States and Canada, for example, when a movie plays there, the studio only gets about 55% of the gross, while the theater gets about 45%. And in countries like China, the studio only gets like 25% of the gross. So they have to record, hey, we got like $1 million out of a theater, but really they got about $500,000 from a theater. You see what I'm saying? So really, Ghostbusters had to make about $500 million just to break even. They were aiming more for like $750 million. That's what they were hoping. The movie ended up grossing something like 200 mil. It horribly hurt them. And that's unfortunately very common practice with Sony movies, because Sony does not make good films. They are not a very well-managed film studio. They play it safe a lot. And there's if you watch a lot of film channels, they'll talk about that. They'll talk about how Sony really has this problem with alienating filmmakers, making a lot of Adam Sandler product placement movies that are just fucking awful. They do a lot of that kind of thing, and it's hurting them, because they don't, even the people who work there say like that you just go there, it's like an assembly line film studio. They're not, people aren't that passionate about making good movies there. They very rarely make anything really worthwhile. And they've done a very great job of alienating all of their franchises. Like, they no longer really have Spider-Man. They have like a partial connection to it. They no longer really have James Bond. They have a partial connection to it. That's why they're pushing for other things. Like, they were pushing Ghostbusters, and that could have worked, except if you know the backstory, the production of that, which we know from the North Korean hack that happened with all the Sony emails being leaked. We know now that the large part of what caused all the drama with that is there was a big agenda to kind of push that feminism stuff. I have no opinion on that, but it's like, it's amazing that was actually, you're going to use that as a vehicle. That's retarded. That's absolutely retarded. And the original film was like a movie about a bunch of schlubby guys who are kind of losers, who can fight ghosts, just through science. And the new movie just completely missed the point in every single way. And a lot of people blame Paul Feig for that. I don't. And the reason I don't blame Paul Feig is I blame Amy Pascal. She was like the film producer who put that project in motion the way it was. And with Paul Feig, you knew what you were going to get. You knew you were going to get Bridesmaids with the Ghostbusters license. And I wouldn't be surprised. It's like handing a gun to a chimp. You know what it's going to do. So why would you do that? It's just, so that's what I think about that shit. And it's sad, because it could have been such a good movie, or at least a competent soft reboot that would have really fixed that franchise or brought it back well. But it is what it is. And now we're going to wait at least another like 10, 20 years before we see another live action Ghostbusters movie. So, I mean, other things Sony was attempting to do was like a live action. I'm not even kidding about this. You can look it up yourself. They wanted to do, the whole thing now is cinematic universes. So they wanted to do that Spider-Man cinematic universe, and they failed. They wanted to do the Ghostbusters cinematic universe. They failed. Do you know what the other one was that hasn't gone into production that they were tinkering with that we know about? A Barbie cinematic universe. Part of the logic of that was that they also have the rights to He-Man, which is another toy line, and they saw how well Transformers was doing, and they're like, maybe we can like make a cinematic universe out of this. They actually went into early production on this shit.
There was a person named Amy Pascal who was actually pushing for a Barbie cinematic universe. This is the state of Sony films. And when you understand things like that, you understand, oh, yeah, Sony as a corporation is not doing too well, are they? But apparently that makes me a Microsoft fanboy, so what do I know? Math. Fuck it. Chinese knockoffs of anything are bad. Okay. Pixar versus DreamWorks. Pixar, for sure. Though Pixar hasn't been as great in recent years. I think that all kind of started with Cars 2. Yeah. Would it be better to save up for a FrameMeister or the next product? Well, as I mentioned before, the FrameMeister is no longer in production, so they're really, 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 really expensive. Where they were once $400, and we were like, oh shit, that's insane. They're now like $2,500 from resellers. Good luck. Sony is making the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. There you go. I think a lot of Sega properties are actually at Sony's hands currently, because I've been saying this for a while. Video game movies, while they're mostly shit, they're known to be shit, at some point, someone is going to make a good one, and it is going to blow up. At some point, that will happen. Much like, do you remember, a lot of you probably don't even remember this. Prior to X-Men, comic book movies were kind of a joke, especially coming off of the heels of Batman and Robin. Other than like Batman 89, Batman Returns, and like the first two Superman movies, comic book movies were just like these jokes, you know, the Phantom and stuff like that. Nobody took that genre seriously. And the same thing is true of video game movies, but X-Men changed everything. And now it's like, you literally don't go a year without seeing at least like two of them anymore. And they're always like the most popular big movies. Video game movies have that potential, and Sony might be gearing up for that because, again, they have obviously a lot of access to video game properties that they own. And if they get in good with other franchise owners like Sega, for example, maybe they can set that up. But still, no one has made a good one. Obviously, the next one up is Assassin's Creed, although I'm hearing early reviews of that say it's terrible, which is unfortunate. See, yes, I loved Mortal Kombat, but that's a 90s nostalgia trip. It's not actually a good movie. It's just fun. But it wasn't anything that was going to blow the industry apart. You got to get that first one that's just like, whoa, to general audiences, not just appealing to like nerds and shit like us. And yes, I'm sorry I called you all nerds, but come on, you're watching a fucking fat guy talk about bullshit for now 2 hours and 15 minutes, which I appreciate. Thank you very much for doing that. Have I seen the Assassin's Creed movie? No, I have not. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time was a good movie. I have not seen that, but even the people I talked to at Ubisoft about that, they were like, no, we're embarrassed by that. No. I like the Resident Evil movies because they know what they are. They know they're pure shit. We're getting a sixth one of those, which is fucking amazing. The Uwe Boll movies are fucking hilarious. I love House of the Dead. I love that movie. That is one of the best. It's so unbelievably awful that it's good movies. But just about anything else he ever made is essentially unwatchable. But I will say this. The commentary to Uwe Boll movies, that is some amazing shit. It's worth watching the movie just to rewatch it with commentary because the dude legitimately believes he's a brilliant artist and that everything he's doing has a purpose and is saying something about society. It's amazing to watch. And he just talks about how brave and creative he is and all this stuff. It's so much fun to watch. Oh yeah, Far Cry was a movie. The people I was hanging out at Ubisoft didn't even remember that. I didn't remember that. Didn't Uwe make that one too? I don't remember. Do I talk to Sega CD Universe still? Yeah, Mike was in this chat earlier. I don't know where he went. I'm sure he didn't hang around. It's been almost 2.5 hours now. Uwe Boll's Blood Rain, that is hilarious. Again, for the same reason, it's so terrible. But again, with commentary, it's awesome. Because he also will openly rip on actors, which is amazing. Like, I can't do a particularly good Uwe Boll impression, but I remember watching his commentary for Blood Rain, and he was just like, "Oh yes, Michael Madsen, he's a terrible actor. I hate him so much. Every day he shows up so drunk. He is not professional. I am professional. I am #1 Hollywood man." He's like, he is terrible drunk actor. I hate him so much. You know, blah, blah, blah. Or like, I think it was Alone in the Dark. He had Tara Reid in it. I swear, I could be misremembering this, but I swear to God, at one point, he's just like, "Oh, there's Tara Reid. The studio makes me work with her. She's whore. I hate her. She's a slut. She has sex with everyone in the movie set. She says, 'Hey, Uwe, you want to have sex with me?' I say, 'No, I am a professional.'" So amazing. I swear I remember that, but that was like 10 years ago that I saw it. So sorry if that's not 100% accurate. What laptop do you currently use? I have had the same Hewlett-Packard HP HDX 18 for 8 years. Because I don't do anything on my laptop other than like web browsing, so I've never really had a reason to upgrade it. It functions fine. I actually put an SSD in it. It works great. And I know Ronald knows. He fucking helped me restore the damn thing, because the only thing that ever went wrong with it is that the screen died on it, and it just happened to die at like the same time I was about to go see him. So he's like, "Yeah, I can ninja that together." And he did. How was the Doom movie? The one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? I only saw it once, and I remember it being pretty stupid. The only video game movie I've ever watched where I was like, all right, I could watch this over and over, I just love this one, is Mortal Kombat. Second would be House of the Dead, but only because of its insanity. Like, that movie just is so bad, and then every once in a while it just does, like, as soon as you're like, "Oh fuck, I can't take this anymore," it does something, you're like, "Okay, I guess I'm still here. Like, I'm still watching." Like, Erica Durant's Lois Lane Smallville, you wouldn't expect her to have a full nude scene in the movie. You're like, how did that happen? You know, she's like one of the most like beautiful women on television at that time. And you're like, she unveiled everything she had for a fucking Uwe Boll movie. I guess I'm going to keep watching this because this just got a lot more interesting. You know, that kind of thing. It's just such a weird ass thing. When is Shenmue 3 coming out? We think December of 2017. So we're potentially only a year away. Not even. It could get delayed, which I would be fine with. I want them to make the game that it needs to be. I don't want them to just put it out to hit some arbitrary release date and then rely on patches and shit. I don't want to see that. While I have no illusions that it's not going to at some point need a patch or something, because we do live in that age, I would rather it come out essentially correct as opposed to fucking broken. How do I have so much DC stuff? Referring to Dreamcast. First of all, I'm a Dreamcast super fan. I love it. But I never, like, when I was collecting for it, nobody gave a shit about it. It was worthless. Now it's super expensive and impossible to find, but at the time nobody cared, so I was just picking it up left and right for fucking nothing. Am I in a documentary? I know I'm going to be in the Shenmue documentary that's coming up. I think I've been in other ones, but I don't even really remember, to be honest with you, because I never know what gets used and what doesn't. And then you have to understand something about film projects, especially when they're like not paid work, they're not contracted work, they're nothing like that. They're just like, "Hey, would you film this bit for me? Or would you be in my little project?" You never know if the project's going to be finished or when it's released, you know, and a lot of people never contact you about it. So I have no fucking idea. Thoughts on the Southern California Retro Gaming Expo? I've never been. I've not been invited. I would go if I was invited formally, but that didn't happen. Like I said, I usually get invited to East Coast and Southeast stuff. I've never been invited to any of the West Coast stuff, other than like press events for 2K or Ubisoft, etc. With the exception of PAX Prime, Machinima brought us out there a couple of times. Rank the Nintendo home consoles from best to worst. My opinion's going to vary from everyone else's, so whatever. My personal favorite is still the Super Nintendo. And then it's kind of I don't know. It's maybe the GameCube or the Wii U right there. And then the other one. And then maybe the N64. And then maybe the NES. Then obviously at the bottom is going to be the Wii no matter what. And it depends. Do you include things like, I don't know what else. Fucking like the Pong clone they did. I don't know. Scott the Canadian is back, dude. They were missing you. They were like, "Oh, I love Scott. Where's he going? We're only here for the Scott show." So welcome back, dude. Do you think arcades are still a viable business model? Not in the United States, but in other countries they seem to be doing better. I think in Japan they're still pretty popular, but here they're pretty dead. How do I see the Shenmue documentary? It's not done. All I know is Adam Scipione is working on it, but I have no idea when it's going to come out or what method by which it'll come out. It will not be a free thing, contrary to popular belief. People have this belief that all movies should be free, even though the guy has spent a lot of money making this thing. Like, he flies out to Japan to make sure he can interview all these people. He can't just give it away for free. It's like a job. So at some point he's going to have to like sell copies of it probably. I don't know how you'll go about seeing it yet, but at some point it'll happen. Will I get a Bandai Pladia? That'd be cool. You know, I believe that was only released in Japan, right? Like, if I ever get to go to Japan and I see one, then maybe, but I have no real great desire to import one. Do I think Tom Cook is destroying Apple? I don't know enough about what he's been doing. All I know is that he fucked up and didn't include like USB ports on something because his production team fucked up and they lied to him, and he was like, oh, okay, I guess it's special or something like that. I don't know the full story. I know that they're not doing what they were because they don't really know what to do. My favorite game that I've imported, if it counts, Shenmue 2 for Dreamcast. I know that's like the standard answer you'd expect from me, but I don't know. I'd have to think a lot about that because I don't remember offhand. The problem with imports is European imports are generally, no offense to European viewers, are not generally that good, because generally if the game's that good, they release it in all regions. Maybe something like Headhunter, because it's a game, or Rez. Those are games that only didn't come out here because Peter Moore killed the Dreamcast earlier here than he needed to. Japan gets a lot of great games that other people don't get, but then you run into like playability issues, you know, with language and stuff. So it's hard to say offhand. Do I have an IQ player? No, I have seen one. I've held one in person. The IQ, if you're not aware, was a Nintendo platform only released in China. It was essentially a portable N64. But it didn't use cartridges. It just used the same games, but through its own different proprietary thing. Shane Rerez had one for a while, but he got rid of it at some point. I think he was just borrowing it from somebody. What the fuck is an FM Towns Marty? It was a console. I believe it's the first fifth gen console released in Japan only. I do not own one. What phone do I have? I have like a Droid Max or something. I need to upgrade. Have you ever gone to the Midwest Game Classic in Wisconsin? No, I should, because it's in Milwaukee, so it's only like a 90-minute drive. I really should go to that. There was some talk of Scott the Canadian coming down and we would go, but he hasn't fucking actually agreed to it, jerk. Or as he would like me to say, jerk face. Do I have any Saturn imports? Yeah, I have almost all of the European exclusives except for one. And I have a bunch of the Japanese stuff, but not too many that are actually worthwhile. A couple of years ago, I did a few penny auctions where you literally just bid a penny and you win because the games are worthless over there. But then you pay on the shipping. So I would just do a big bulk lot so that it would actually be worth the time. Ronald owns an IQ. Lucky you. Fuck. Do I have an NEC Super Graphics? I do not. Will there be another podcast uploaded before the end of the year? Do you mean from my channel? No. Well, the Patreon podcast is what I think you're talking about, which, again, is early to Patreon backers. You can already go see it. But it becomes public, I think, in a week from now. That's the thing. I don't hold the content from you guys. I just give it to you later because my Patreon's kind of like, you just want to support me. It's a tip jar. You want to help the channel? Great. You can help the channel. I'm going to give you something back for doing that. It's the least I can do. But I don't want to fuck over people who didn't want to do that. So it's just, I have to give some sort of incentive. And that's my incentive is like, well, I'll give you something back for it. It's just early access to the podcast. So yes, there will be another podcast in, I think, like 5 days or so. Is 4K gaming worth the money? I'm not the guy to ask. I don't own anything 4K capable. Scott the Canadian says, my Canadian dollar is worthless, makes it hard to travel. That is true, but it's great for me because I can bring all this money up and I'm like, oh, look, I have an American dollar, and they all like bow down to me and everything because it's like, oh, you can buy a house here with that. Remy, what's up, man? You got to talk more, dude. Remy is my French buddy. He's French and he's awesome. And he was on my podcast for a while. He can tell you all about it. And he has an FM Towns Marty and an IQ. He's also the only person I know who has an Apple Pippin besides me. Have I played Police Knots on Sega Saturn? No. Although I don't think the Saturn version was in English. I think that was a Japanese only game. And it's hard for me to get into like narratives that aren't in English, you know? Is there a Neo Geo EverDrive? Not to my knowledge, but I believe Stone Age Gamer was teasing one on his Facebook page. So it might become a thing. I always was told it was like technically impossible, but maybe not. Do you live near O'Hare? I swear I can hear jets in all of your videos. Those are actually trains. So no. But planes do fly over the city, but you wouldn't be hearing those. You're hearing trains like the L, like in the distance. Most used games and accessories are dirt cheap in Japan. Yeah. There isn't much of a, as far as I've understand, there isn't that much of a retro scene there. Like they keep all that stuff. It's available, but the actual Japanese people don't really care about buying retro stuff, is the impression I've always gotten. I've never been. I don't know anybody personally who can tell me different, so. Streets of Rage remake or new game. At this point, either one, man. Like, if Sega thinks they can make it, do it. But I don't want a stupid cash in that's just some shitty fighting game called Streets of Rage just for the fuck of it. I don't really trust Sega with making quality content, so it's hard to say. At least not currently. I know they're trying to get better with that. Is Panzer Dragoon Saga impossible to remaster? I believe Panzer Dragoon Saga is a game that they lost the source code for. So that if they were to do it, they'd have to essentially completely remake it or just build an emulator, a really competent Sega Saturn emulator, and release things that way. But I don't think that they are ever going to do that. What do you think about video game remasters or remakes? I support them. Nope. Here's this dirty little secret with remakes and remasters. You don't have to support it. A lot of people hate it because they're like, oh, it's a cash grab. They're just making this game. It's like, you don't have to buy it. You know, it's giving a whole new group of people the option to play a game they might have missed out on. You know, people were pissed. Oh, Last of Us remastered. You know, like, why did they have to put that out on PS4? I had it on PS3. It's because a lot of people who didn't have a PS3 have a PS4. They're giving them the option and they're improving it in a lot of ways. Like, there are some examples where you're like, you could have tried harder, like the God of War 3 remaster. I agree with that. But again, nobody's forcing you to buy it. Will I be in the next Chad Vader? Chad Vader, if you guys actually follow my buddy Aaron Yanda, he's the creator of Chad Vader. I've been in that show. I worked on it since season 3. But he actually literally posted an article about this yesterday. How there will probably never be a 4th season because the show is just too expensive to produce, especially in this day and age. You would need about a budget of about minimum $10,000 an episode because people who don't do film never understand why things cost so much. So a basic breakdown of that is there's a lot of people you don't see in the production. You have to pay for all that. You have to pay for insurance. You have to pay for hardware. You have to pay for people's time. You have to pay for craft services. You have to pay for a lot of things. It's very expensive. And you also, as the creator, have to be making something off of this. Otherwise, there's no way you can do it. I know people be like, but you should just do it for the art, man. You should just love to do it. I can't pay my bills with I fucking love to do it, you know? So that's why he can't do that anymore. So he basically said there'll probably never be another season unless some rich benefactor comes along and actually wants to fund another season. You know, you could potentially make a Kickstarter to get one episode made, but that's about it. And I don't think they really want to do that because it would just be a weird like reunion episode if you just do one. Thoughts on Tectoy releasing their Genesis clone? I think it's cool, but I don't know enough about it, and I don't know why this is news because they've been doing this for a long time. I don't understand what's new about this one that was different about the other ones. Why is Jurassic Park Operation Genesis rare? It is the rarest OG Xbox game, at least in the North American library. It's probably the only one worth anything. Why? I don't know. Probably low production run? I couldn't tell you. What's with the wrinkled Derrick Rose jersey on the wall? It's a signed Derrick Rose jersey. I got it signed at a game in Milwaukee once. It was a nicer at one point. It has obviously fallen in the frame, and I never bothered to take it out and fix it because he's not even on the Bulls anymore, so whatever. But it is signed by him. Will Yakuza 0 be censored or cut? I have no idea. I hope it's uncensored. It's uncut. I have no idea. There is no need Neo Geo EverDrive 151 game cartridge exists. Please tell me more. I don't know anything about it. Do I like chicken and waffles? I had it once, ironically enough, in Atlanta, where again, I will be going to the High Res Studios Smite convention in Atlanta in early January. That's the only time I've ever had chicken and waffles. It was okay. It wasn't the best thing ever, but I had it like on a food cart, so I don't think it was going to be the best version of it. I also had that like Lay's, if you guys remember, does those like weird potato chip flavors every once in a while, and they did a chicken and waffles one. That was fucking gross. Coleco Chameleon and other console flashbacks. First of all, Coleco Chameleon wasn't a console flashback. It was its own highly dramatic story, which you should look more into. I'm not going to explain all that here. And the console flashbacks, I don't give a fuck about any of them, except for the Atari Flashback 2, because it was unique in that all these console flashback things are basically fucking pieces of shit that are a single board where it's running essentially an emulator on a chip. It's called an NOAC, or Nintendo on a chip. Essentially one chip replicating NES hardware. And then they write software to run other games on it. So essentially a lot of the Atari ones were Atari 2600 emulators designed for the NES running on a shitty little chip. And they function like crap as a result. The only thing that was different about the Atari Flashback 2 is the guy who made it was super passionate about getting it right. So he designed a board that is a complete authentic Atari 2600 board in every way, shape, or form. It's simply missing a cartridge slot, but he actually left specific points. You could easily modify the thing to put a cartridge slot in and run Atari 2600 games straight, pure, clean, authentic, and it even has composite out, which I never recommend composite, but with the Atari 2600, since RF is what you usually get, huge improvement. I do not have one, especially a modded one, but that would be a cool thing to have. What do I think the cases for the Switch will look like? Probably similar to DS cases, I would imagine. Save on shelf space, kind of blend in with their other products. You know, I don't know. Something like that, I would guess, because they don't need a lot of space. They're tiny little, they look like they're just like tiny little SD card type of deals. I just spilled some water. Do more videos on fixing systems. Here's the truth about those. I don't understand why I'm so well known for those. At conventions and stuff, that's like the number one thing I hear. Oh, dude, I love your cleaning this video. It's like, dude, I can't believe that. First of all, I'm never in those. You just see my hands, so I don't know how the hell people even know I'm the same guy. But yeah, the thing about those, they're fun to do, but they're difficult, and you can't keep doing them though. Like, there's only so many consoles, and there's only so many you can clean and repair that way. Because the problem with at least the newer consoles is you can't fix them with that shit. They're too complicated. Like, it's easy enough to do a cartridge console because it just really just needs the cleaning. But something like the PS3, fat model or the Xbox 360, you're not going to open it up and clean it. It's got way more issues in it. So there's only a couple more I could do, and I haven't had any to do. At this point, it would just be just for the sake of doing it. Like, I have a Famicom. It could probably use a cleaning, but it works just fine. Maybe I could do that, but like that would just be to do it, not because it's fun or interesting. Because a lot of the time, the fun of those was I would buy some junk console, or I would get a junk console, have no idea if it works. In some cases, I would think it probably didn't work, and I do everything I can to restore it to show you guys how to do that. And then we just gamble at the end and see if it worked or not. But if a console already works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What console do you want to get next? Do you mean like of anything out there? Or like next gen stuff? Or I guess current gen stuff? I don't know. I think the console I've wanted the most for a long time that I don't have will be the Neo Geo CD. Corey Marsh says, he's one of my Patreon backers. He's also a hell of a nice guy. Did you get the OSSC yet? What did you think of it? I have it. I have not had the chance to use it just because of time constraints. But surprise, OSSC is going to be a subject in the podcast that's coming up. It's potentially the Framemeister's replacement, and I intend to make a video on it eventually to show you guys if it's any good or not. Did the stream freeze, or can you guys still see me? Because it froze on my screen. I need you guys to confirm that for me, because I'm not seeing it anymore. Sorry if it did. But in the meantime, while we awkwardly, I'll just refresh the page. Maybe it'll start working. Oh, it seems to be working. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Favorite movie. I always say the Star Wars saga as like a complete film, but that's not usually a good enough answer. Then I would sometimes be like, well, the Back to the Future trilogy. Well, that's not really a movie either. I think if you had to just go with like a single film all by itself, there's a German film called Downfall. I love that movie. I think that's a fantastic film. So that would probably be my answer. Okay, you guys see me. I'm glad. Thank you very much. My favorite sports team, Chicago Bulls. I think that would be obvious. Okay. Yeah, sorry I asked you guys to test that for me. Now there's no more questions. People are saying the Neo Geo CD isn't really worth getting because it has terrible load times. Yeah, I wouldn't get it to play it. It would just be more of a cool thing to have. What I would ideally do is get Neo Geo. I have a Neo Geo AES, and it'd be cool to have the this upcoming, I guess, Neo Geo EverDrive like cart that's coming. That would be cool. And then I would play stuff that way. I recently just got the RGB cables for it, so it looks really solid. So I think I'm gonna go until I'll go for another like 20 minutes, and then I think I really am gonna bow out. So you got an extra hour. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this has been fun for you. If you don't mind, again, I hate asking, but please like the video because of YouTube's policies. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I'm just asking. How did it feel to turn 30? It didn't really feel like much of anything. It was just interesting to see that the sunset of my 20s was spent in Madison, Wisconsin, a place I hate. I didn't like that, but it is what it is. Can Sega afford to release a new console? Hell no, they can't. Favorite Resident Evil game? Resident Evil 2. What do I think was the worst game of 2016? I don't know, man. I don't really like to answer questions like that because it's not like I played everything. I can't fucking say. Then again, I'm not even that confident in my game reviewing abilities. I'm better at talking about history and stuff like that, and film reviewing, sure, but not so much game reviewing. I don't know. I've never been that confident in my ability to give a great assessment of it. Favorite Apple Bandai Pippin games. I've literally only played one. That was the Power Rangers Zeo game, and it was fucking terrible. When am I coming to Hong Kong? I have no plans to do that. Why do I hate Madison? We don't have all day. We just don't have all day to talk about that. I hate that city, though. How much of my collection is from my childhood? A small percentage relative. I mean, like, I never really got rid of anything I had as a kid, but like compared to what I have now, it makes up a very small amount of it. What do I think will happen to the 3DS after the Switch comes out? Will it stay or will it go? It depends on if it's making money or not. We know the Wii U's gone, but the 3DS is still doing pretty well, so they'll probably keep it around. Bernie Stoller, what about him? Have I ever heard of Crazy Bus for the Genesis? Yes, I have. I think anybody who watches the AVGN's heard of Crazy Bus. Will you rebuy Wii U games that are supposedly being ported to the Switch? Possibly. I don't know. I'll have to think more about that. It depends on like what's available for the Switch and how much I end up liking the console. Super Mario Sunshine or Super Mario 64? 64. I liked Super Mario Sunshine, but I didn't play it nearly as much, and I probably should. I recommend to you my Space Channel 5 on the Dreamcast. It has Michael Jackson. Yes, it does. He has a brief cameo in that, and he has more of a presence in Space Channel 5 Part 2. That game I played all the way through. Wasn't my favorite. I'm not going to do a whole video on why I hate Madison, Wisconsin. I'm just not going to. No. Do I think Sony messed up by leaving out Blu-ray 4K compatibility? Yeah, I do. Which, it's weird. They're on the council of people who own the format. It's bizarre. In their big pro device, they didn't put it in there. It's a sign of cost-cutting measures, which is not good for them, especially when they're like pushing it as like a 4K machine, which suggests there will be like the PS4 Pro Super Edition or something later down the line that probably has that. And that's going to get dangerous, man. I just do not want to go with this like cell phone model introduced into consoles where like every year, every 2 years, we have to get this like new fucking version of the console. Again, I don't know when the Shenmue documentary is coming out. It's not that I dislike Wisconsin. I just don't like Madison. I've become very sick of spending time up there. To me, all right, fine. I'll give you a little bit of this. I grew up in Chicago. It's a super city, third biggest city in the United States. Has its pluses, has its minuses, like any major city or any place you live. There are pluses and minuses to what exists there. For example, Chicago, a plus might be that things are like open 24 hours. It's 3 a.m. I want to go get a sandwich. No problem. I can do it. But then you have to deal with things like traffic and crowds and stuff like that. I get it. There's pluses and negatives. Small towns, you know, the like I grew up in the suburbs, right? Everything closes early, but there's not much traffic. You know, you can put your car anywhere. You know, it's not. There are pluses and minuses. But even super small towns, there's no traffic. There's not much to do, but it's peaceful, it's quiet. There are pluses and minuses. Madison has all of the negatives and none of the pluses. It's a small town, so everything closes early, but it's big enough that it has traffic all the time, but not every place is car accessible. See what I'm saying? Like, it just has none of the fucking good things. It just has all the bad things. And it's the only place I've been. We do film shoots up there, right? It's the only place I've ever been where a film production can actually stop and be threatened by a drum circle forming around it. Like straight out of a South Park episode. That happened to us multiple times. We're like filming something and a bunch of fucking hippies come up and do drum circle shit. And I'm just like, we really have to stop filming because they're fucking doing drum circle shit. I do not like that town. I just don't. And I have to spend way too much time up there. So that's how I feel about Madison, in a nutshell. It's also a horrible place to try and drive around in because it's not like a suburb where it's kind of well organized, or like a city where you don't really drive in it, but you could, but it's easily navigated by a grid system generally. Madison's way too spaced out and everything's way too far away and just... It's like when I'm up there, I always, like, anybody I talk to like says, oh, that thing's down the street, that's way too far from me. I'm like, yeah, if I grew up here, I'd probably think the same thing because every place you try to get up there is a fucking hassle. Anyway, that's what I think. Is my voice off sync? It could be. I mean, the microphone is much better than the camera. How did I become so confident? I don't know. I assume you mean as like a public speaker? I don't know. Do I want to be a guest on the Shenmue AM2 podcast? Never heard of you. I'm sorry. Maybe. Sure. I don't know. Hit me up. Depends on availability. What consoles have I played at home in the past year? I don't really keep track of that. The only time I made a big deal about it was if you go to my Facebook fan page. If you're on Facebook, you can like my fan page and I post stuff there. Same with my Twitter, Instagram, all that shit. I have the same thing everywhere. Adam Koralik, just look it up. I made a big deal about how I was sitting around playing the Amiga CD32 all night just for the fuck of it. That's the only thing I did this year that was like weird, where I was like, yeah, let me get out a weird console and just play it. Didn't do a video on it or anything, just social media stuff. Sonic Mega Collection GameCube. What about it? I have it for the OG Xbox, the Mega Collection Plus. I seem confident in general. Well, thank you. Any recent CD32 game purchases? No. Have you been to the Video Game Museum in Texas? No, but I actually, I'm friends with one of the guys, well, I should say more like acquaintances, with one of the guys who opened it. A guy named Sean who lives in Chicago. He opened it along with 2 other guys, and I've never been to that museum specifically, but I would like to check it out. Do I eat food? Yeah, I would think that would be kind of obvious. Will I make a video about my gaming setup? Do you mean the way I keep consoles connected, or do you mean like my collection? Because the collection I won't do unless it's my last video ever. As for setup, maybe, but I'm constantly tinkering with it, trying to improve it. So it's one of those things where it's just out of date immediately. So I don't really like to do stuff like that. I don't like things that are out of date immediately. Favorite soda ever? As we said before, man, German Coca-Cola all the way. How much do I hate Emery? I don't really hate Emery. He's a friend. Make fun of him, a lot. He does a lot of stupid shit, of course, but I don't hate the guy. Have I got a Neo Geo Gold X? Yes, and it's the one console I've ever purchased I actually regret buying. And I own a Tiger R-Zone. Granted, it's not really a console, but I own that shit. I don't regret it. I do regret buying a Neo Geo X. Would you hate to be too big that you couldn't do things like this? No, because I could still do this. It would just be, less of you would get your questions answered, but I'd still like to have that ability, I'm never doing a room tour, ever, unless it's the last video. When am I coming back to Canada, jerk? Scott the Canadian asks. Dude, I was just there like a week ago. How much do you miss me? Jesus. He wants me to bring him more beverages. Yeah, I drove up there because I fly up there sometimes, either for conventions or whatever. And when you fly, there's only so much you can bring because, I'm not going to bring a suitcase and everything because you have to pay for the suitcase. I'm not going to do that. So I just have like carry-on. So you're limited to what you can bring. And you can't bring like liquids. But Scott always wants Mexican Coke and Mexican Pepsi and all these other fucking things he can't get because he's in Canada. And then he's like, yeah, bring them to me. So when I drive, it's fine. I got plenty of space in the car. Border control doesn't care about shit like that. So you just put it in there and you're good. So that's what I did like last week or the week before. Can I ask you a question? Yes, you just did. Congratulations. As I mentioned before, video game stores in Wisconsin that are my favorite. I don't spend, other than Madison, I don't really spend a lot of time up there. And the only game store in Madison is Video Games Exchange. So like default, that wins. Mike Matei is friggin' awesome person. I met him once at Too Many Games. He's actually a good buddy of Shane Rerez. Julian says, we miss you. And Matt misses me. And Sarah misses you. Thanks. It's too bad we didn't get to see each other that weekend. Sorry about that. I just wasn't up there long enough, man. PAL games I'm looking for. Yeah, there's a lot of Xbox PAL exclusives I'm looking for. But I'll figure that out eventually. How did I meet Vampire Mike? I've never met Mike. He found me. He, at one point, I guess he started watching me, watched my Dreamcast like collection video, and then he did an entire video talking about my video, and he sent that to me, and I was like, oh, this guy seems pretty cool, and that was just it. Val misses me too, says, oh, okay. Julian says Val misses me, and she has a fake baguette you can hit people with. The only person I'm hitting with a fake baguette is you, dude. Hi, Val. I don't know if you're watching, but hi. How often do I go to Canada? I think this was the 6th time or 5th time I was there this year. That's not normal. Usually I go there like once a year, just kind of for the fuck of it. This time I ended up, the first time was just my normal, like, hey, I'm going to go up to Canada for once a year deal. And then I was invited to 3 conventions up there, which is why I went so frequently over the summer. And then the last time was actually my mother had a funeral to attend, so I simply drove her there because she was like, the area, would you mind just taking me? And I was like, sure. Yes, Ronald, I might know somebody in the PAL region. Will I see Mrs. Claus this Christmas? No, but she was in here earlier, actually. But no, I saw her recently in Paris because of Ubisoft brought me out there. And so I was like, hey, you want to meet up? And she was like, absolutely. So we hung out in Paris for like a week. And that was like last month. Favorite Resident Evil game? As I said before, Resident Evil 2. Favorite first-person shooter? Call of Duty 2. Yeah. Unpopular opinion, probably. I don't give a fuck about playing online, as I've said many times. I just like single player campaigns, and I like World War II history and stuff. So Call of Duty 2 to me, perfect. Although it's kind of unplayable on Xbox One, which is too bad, unless they patched it or something, because it was running like shit. Have I ever been to San Diego? I think when I was a kid. I've been to California many times. Shit, I've been to California like 6 times this year alone, but always in San Francisco and briefly at LAX. But I like going to Los Angeles a lot. but that doesn't happen that much anymore. Favorite Canadian brand coffee? This is an ironic answer because I fucking hate Tim Hortons. I think it's disgusting. But the stuff they sell in bags is fantastic. I don't get it. I don't know why the stuff they sell in the store is fucking gross. But I guess Dunkin' Donuts kind of does the same thing, don't they? Like the stuff they sell in the store is not that good, but the stuff they sell in the bag is fucking great. There's other ones, but I don't know enough about which ones are exclusive to Canada. I came back with a few bags of random Canadian coffee, so I haven't tried them yet, but I'm sure they're good. Corey hasn't opened his collector's edition of Last Guardian. Internet videos aren't real promising. Re-Res kind of shitted on it. Dude, I was in the same room with him. I've seen that collection set. I haven't played the game, so I couldn't tell you. Scott the Canadian is an interesting Canadian. He hates Tim Hortons even more than I do, which is fucking weird. Because I'll defend that bagged coffee. That stuff is great. But then again, I have to be honest, the only bagged coffee I bought is the stuff of Tim Hortons brand they sell in the States, not the stuff they sell in Canada. So I don't know. And it kind of grosses me out that Tim Hortons has crossed the border so much. It's in 10 states, but now it's owned by Burger King. So I guess technically it's now an American company. Okay, guys, we're going to go for like 6 more minutes, and this time I actually mean it. So we'll do some power round questions and stuff, because we're starting to get a lot of repeat questions, and I don't blame you. You know, it's been a long stream. And again, if you want to see this from the beginning, I realize it's 3 hours long, and it's probably not going to be of much interest to people. You can go back and check it out. Do I prefer European chocolate? Yes. The only American chocolate worth a damn is Ghirardelli's. Except for like local brands like Fannie Mae, and that's not the insurance company. It's a Chicago brand thing. Those are pretty good. But ironically, Milka, which is like the most famous one, at least of mass. Hey, it's Phobius. What's up, man? I was just purchasing Milka bars. That's fucking hilarious. Stefan, what's up, man? I was just talking about Milka. Yeah, Milka bars is what I was about to talk about. It's so it's like the best. It was German, right? You know, it was like this awesome over-the-counter German can. It's fucking delicious chocolate. But it was bought by Kraft, and Kraft is based here in Chicago, and they actually moved production of it to Chicago. That shit's made like 20 minutes from my house, but they don't really sell it here much. Although they're starting to, it's starting to get in there, and now we're starting to get flavors the Europeans don't get, which is kind of weird. So it's good to see that more and more. Have I ever sold an item in my collection and regretted it? Yes. When I was a kid, I remember selling a bunch of stuff to, of course, it was at the time it was like, not Babbage's, Funkoland. Including the only one I remember, it was like Spider-Man for the Game Boy and like Super Mario 64 I sold, and I was like, oh, now I just feel terrible. I feel awful. I shouldn't have done that. And so I regretted that. And I bought them back. Or I bought at least Super Mario 64 back later. I didn't really regret Spider-Man so much. 93 or 96 Bulls. 95, 96 Bulls, dude. Hell yes. 72 wins. 73 and 9 sounds good, but 72 and 10 just has a better ring to it. I think that was the line that was going around after last year. Best Cadbury bar is Oreo, says JDH33. So Cadbury's interesting because the British version is great, the Canadian version is okay, and the American version is fucking terrible. Funny thing about that shit is that it's not made equally in all the same places. They use different components, and they use different things in different orders, and as a result, it actually legitimately tastes different. And so if you're British and you ever visit the States and you're like, oh, look, they have Cadbury, we should just buy one just because, haha, LOL, we'll buy one. Don't. You'll regret it. It's fucking nasty. The only American chocolate, other than I guess now technically Milka, that I can recommend is Ghirardelli's. That shit is really good. Everything else, like Hershey's, is fucking gross. Do I approve of console mods? Yes, I do. As I said before. Was it strange for Nintendo to show the Switch off on Jimmy Fallon? I hate Jimmy Fallon. I fucking hate him. It's like his job is to get in there and just ruin anything. Like, he fucking ruined Jurassic World. It's like, dude, don't get in there. Like, he's just... That's not really answering your question. Yes, it was strange for Nintendo to do that as a PR move, but I'm glad they're advertising the console at least. And at least Jimmy Fallon, to his credit, does know something about video games. So he's like, he could talk about it somewhat. But I just have beef with Jimmy Fallon. I can't ever get over the fact that he like ruined SNL. Like every sketch he was ever in was fucking horrible because of him. You have Will Ferrell there trying to hold it together and make the sketch good, and he's just sitting there staring at the camera like, it's so funny. We're in a sketch on TV, isn't that funny? Fucking hate Jimmy Fallon. He should not have a career. He really should not have a career. And he just shows up in movies and it's just, get the fuck out of my movies. And he's terrible in them. Just fucking the worst. I remember going to I think it was like Universal Studios a couple of years ago, and I was on, the tour or whatever, and then they bring on fucking Jimmy Fallon to explain the tour. And be like, get the fuck out of the tour. Why are you here? Fuck off, Jimmy Fallon. Fuck off. I don't want to see you. I think one of the worst flight experiences I ever had was that I was flying back from San Francisco once, and they play the screen, they have a TV in front of you, like playing like news or whatever, and it was fucking an interview on the Jimmy Fallon show. And you know who he's interviewing? Fucking Matthew Broderick, like the least talented actor that the earth ever had. And these two are like talking together. I'm like, oh my god, let the plane crash. This is the worst thing ever. Then of course you realize you can just change the channel, but still, fuck, that sucked. So I think we got like 2 more minutes and then I'm out of here. So we're just going to do power round questions. Have I heard of the Dreamcon wireless controller for the Dreamcast? Yes, I have. That'd be a cool thing to have, but it's super expensive. Thank you, Adam, for staying on the live stream this long. If you're ever in Phoenix, Arizona, let me know. Sure, dude. I almost went, I was hoping to go to a convention. I think it was like GameCon or something in Phoenix, but that never quite worked out. Who do I hate more, Madison, Wisconsin, or Jimmy Fallon? Jimmy Fallon. At least Madison, Wisconsin, I can go to sleep and be mentally away from that shit for a while. Jimmy Fallon, you just can't get away from him. He just keeps fucking showing up everywhere. He's like the fucking Slender Man of entertainment. It's fucking awful. It's like, when's he gonna start ruining video games too? I guess he kind of did. He's fucking part of the Switch now. Fuck. Do I know anything about the iOmega 1000? No, I do not. SNES or Genesis? I gotta go Genesis, but like, fucking, it's a hair close thing, man. It's so close. I know that's not the popular consensus because a lot of people rank the SNES higher largely because of its RPG library, but RPGs mean nothing to me, so they don't do anything for me. Will I ever do a 24-hour live Q&A? No. I don't think I could do it. I don't think anybody would want to see that by the end of it. Like, already it's been 3 hours and I'm still like, I'm starting to fade a little bit here, but 24 hours, fuck no. All right, guys. Yeah, I'll give you one more like solid answer to something, and then we're out. This doesn't count, but I am coming to the Missouri GameCon next year, dude. That I'm an official guest of that. So if you guys are, that's the 2 conventions I know about right now: is the Smite High Res convention in January next month, the beginning of January, and Missouri GameCon in August. I will be at both of those. I don't know what else, if anything else, I will be at. I'd like to go to MagFest, but there's no plans to do that. Let's see. All right, so this is going to be awkward because I'm just going to sit here and kind of stare in silence for a second. We got to come up with a good final question, guys, and then I'm out, all right? So just bear with me. And while people are coming up with it, if you don't want to type a question or anything, hit the thumbs up button. I really appreciate that. That really helps me out. I'm sorry, I don't like asking you. You know I don't like asking you. It's a fucking YouTube policies. I'm fascinated by that one, but unfortunately I don't have a good answer for it. The question being any conventions you have regretted coming to. Because I don't, so that one doesn't count. I also don't want to answer stuff that I've answered in other videos, like, why aren't you a fan of handheld gaming? It's not that I dislike it, I just don't care. I own a television. Why do I need that shit? But I've talked about that many times. What if I presented Dreamcast 2 at E3? I'd wonder how I got there and why I was a hostage. This is surprisingly tough, guys. But thank you for trying. This is... What if gaming was illegal? What would I do? Wonder why I woke up in North Korea. Okay, I think I'm going to go with this one. What do I think about the current state of YouTube? Nerves. I'm nervous, you know, because I know I'm sure a lot of you don't actually make YouTube videos, and, you know, you just see it as like, this is like an entertainment source and I can just click to anything. It doesn't really matter. But there's a lot of us, this is our job, you know, this is how we make a living. And it's essentially like our entire industry is under threat. And I know people say, oh, that's not a real job. Get fucked. Go do something else. Fucking do construction or something. It's like, you don't get it, man. Like, what if I came to wherever you work and said, whatever you do isn't a real job? Like, what if you know, I don't know what you do. I don't really care. I don't judge you. I don't think less of you for it. You know, if you work at Target and you're a cashier, I don't come in and be like, get a real job. Go be a lawyer. What are you being a fucking Target cashier for, you piece of shit? You don't do that to somebody. And YouTube has, in recent years, especially lately, really gone out of their way to bring, as I say it, to take the U out of YouTube. It's becoming a thing where I'm not even kidding about this. They're pushing shit like Jimmy Fallon. Ugh, that's not even the reason I hate the motherfucker. That's just another goddamn he's everywhere thing. But he, you know, that's what YouTube is pushing now, is like mainstream media shit, and they're really throwing us to the back burner and stuff. And it sucks. You know, like every day there is a current glitch where anytime I put up a video, I'm like, I got a video up right now because of this. There are literally channels being unsubbed from me automatically because of that. Sure, some people tune in and be like, this guy sucks. I don't know why the fuck I watch him anymore. And then they unsub. I get that. But it's just a glitch. And then a lot of times people will come back and be like, dude, I haven't seen you in years. I thought you just like stopped making videos. Turns out I wasn't subscribed to you anymore. That shit happens all the time. And that's just one of many glitches. And the problem with YouTube is it's not well run. It exists on a whole cowboy coding system where basically YouTube itself doesn't even know how it functions. Like, people think YouTube must be huge. It only has like 98 employees. And that includes like PR teams and stuff. Like, there's not too many like developers, if you want to call it that, who are, you know, web designers, whatever you want to say, that actually programmers that work for YouTube. And the problem is it's also a revolving door company. So the way it was explained to me is, if someone comes into YouTube with this idea like, hey, I'm going to integrate Google Plus, okay? Google Plus. You might remember the fucking amazing Google Plus integration. Some guy will come in with that. And he's like, I have to go and build that into the system. And he looks and doesn't really understand all the other stuff in the system because it was built before him. But he goes, well, whatever. I'll just turn this off to make Google Plus work, and I'll turn this on to make Google Plus work, and blah, blah, blah. And when you do that, there are live consequences of it. Entire channels are born or fucking destroyed as a result of those changes. You know, there's big on and off switches. And basically what I'm saying is that they don't even know the effect of any of this, and they don't know how it's programmed, because as soon as the guy who makes Google Plus comes in, you know, he fucking quits, he leaves, and they go like, what were the effects of Google Plus? I don't know, turn this off and turn that on. And when you do that, the algorithm changes. When the algorithm changes, certain things are rewarded that weren't rewarded before. And certain things that were rewarded at one point are now punished. You know, things like, oh, at one point it was all that views that mattered. Then it became viewer retention is what mattered. Then it became long videos. Then it became short videos. Then it became likes. And then it became comments. And it's not like they're sitting there going, we should make it likes this week. It's because they turn something off and they're like, I guess likes is what the system wants now, because there's some old piece of code from 10 years ago that says that's what it should do, because we don't know who the fuck put that code in or where it is or how to turn it off. And there's no way to test any of this other than to just fucking do it, and it goes live. And then, you know, like, channels, like I said, are born of that, and channels are destroyed from that. The best example that I heard of was, you guys remember Fred? At one time, Fred was like the second biggest YouTuber in existence. And what happened with him, and I don't know, I can't be sure of what specifically happened, but I'll phrase it this way. Imagine if Fred had put, you know, like, have a good day or be happy, you know, in his description of every single video, just because that was his thing to say or something like that. And then YouTube comes along, some employee jumps in and he's like, all right, I want the system to reward videos that make people feel good, that make them feel happy. So he says that in the code, right? So then the algorithm goes, okay, well, I'll look for things that are good and happy. And it finds Fred's videos, and they say good and happy in the description of every video. So they're like, okay, this must be the thing they want. So they just throw Fred to the top of the list. And it's because he's recommended to everyone, people just subscribe to him. And then his channel blows up. And Fred was smart enough to realize that's not sustainable. There's no reason I should be this successful. There's no reason I should be this high up. And as a result, eventually he was like, all right, as soon as the right offer came along, he sold his channel. He was literally the first person to be a beneficiary of one of those system glitches where they just turn something on or turn something off, and it just comes of that. And so he sold his channel to some, I don't remember who, but some ad company or something like that for millions of dollars. He basically got a retirement level payout because YouTube was in such its infancy that people thought, okay, if I have this big channel, all I have to do is put up commercials of anything I want, and people will just watch it because they're just subscribed to the channel. They didn't understand it was because people were there either because of a glitch or they were there because they actually cared about the content creator. So now if you look at Fred's channel, it's not even active, and he himself has nothing to do with that channel. And unfortunately, that happens to a lot of people. And I don't want to take anything away from people like PewDiePie, because I'm not saying the guy didn't do a bunch of work to get where he is, but he is the beneficiary of another one of those glitches in the system where they don't really understand how he got there. So it's annoying because like half of a YouTuber's job now is just doing your best to research what the fuck is YouTube doing and trying to get with its system, which is why I have to ask you to like the video. I hate asking you to have to do that. I feel like a fucking asshole when I have to say that, but I have to, otherwise no one will see this video. And if no one sees the video, then I don't have that much incentive to keep making videos, because it's depressing to make videos just for yourself or the videos that go nowhere. So I hope you guys understand that. I hope you get why this is complicated. I hope you also understand why I know Patreon is obviously something that's not popular with consumers of content, because they're like, I'm just paying you money to do something you would be doing anyway. I don't want to do that, which I have a Patreon, but I don't ask you don't have to do that shit, but I want you to understand why that matters. YouTube has been drastically cutting everybody's revenue by shifting the audience away from YouTube creators over to studios like like I said, to Jimmy Fallon's retarded ass show and Jimmy Kimmel and all these other things. The NFL always get Star Wars, obviously getting tons of ad space on there, etc. And it's not so much that people like us want to have Patreons because we're like, we need more money, give us all the money. It's more like, if you want us to keep making content, we have to be able to make a living from it. This is our job. This is what we do. And if we can't make a living at it, we got to stop and go do something else. And so Patreon is just a way to offset YouTube's retarded bullshit policies. You think we like that? It's fucking embarrassing to have to say shit like that to people. You think I like telling you I have a Patreon? Do you think I like telling you, please like my video, please comment on my video? I hate doing that. I wish I could just make stuff and just made it be of infinite free time and have retirement level success where I can just say, go ahead, go do this, and we'll all have fun watching the content. But sad reality is I can't. Like, I don't live in that fantasy, and very few of us ever get to. So there you go. And I think that, unfortunately, even though PewDiePie, again, respect to him for the success he had, it is people like him where he makes the news and it turns out he makes like millions of dollars a year. People go, wow, fuck YouTubers. They must make tons of money and they don't need anything. It's like, no, he did that because of another glitch in the system that blew him up. So there you go. Anyway, there you go, guys. That's my final thought here for this stream. My little heartfelt rant to you. Hope you enjoyed the stream overall. Thank you guys for watching this. Again, this whole thing will be available publicly if you're interested and afterwards. And do me a favor, guys. Go like some of the videos I've put out. Comment on stuff if you don't mind. I really appreciate it. But yeah, regardless, and hopefully like this video again. But thank you very much for watching, everybody. I will see you all later. You guys have been champs, sticking in here for 3 hours and 11 minutes. That's fucking amazing. And I guess the last question I'm going to ask you guys is, and this is what I want to go out with here, is can you tell me if this is something you want to see more often? Do you want to see me do this like once a month, or is this something that should just happen on a random blue moon type of event? So while you figure that out, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you very much, everybody. See you later.